Before we get started, if you are dealing with depression, it's important to remember that you are not alone and there is help available. Reach out to someone you trust. Seek professional help. Take care of yourself. Reach out for support. Remember that things can get better. If you are in crisis or experiencing thoughts of self-harm, please seek immediate help by contacting a crisis hotline or emergency service in your area. You are not alone, and there are people who care about you and want to help. This was when my life changed. I would never be normal again. Everything I had tried to avoid came crashing down on me all at once. I was so scared. Quote, Hisako Ichiki, visionary creator Peach Momoko, Demon Days, Star Wars creates a new generation of X-Men for all new universe. Hisako Ichiki is a teenage girl who just wants to live a normal life, go to school, hang out with her friends, ignore the political strife broiling over the events of the ultimate invasion, but life has other plans for her. In Japan, urban legends have sprung to life and brought some unusual new powers with them. Meet Armor, Mace Storm, and a group of new Ultimate X-Men, the likes of which you've never seen before. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 1, a diabolical genius known as the Maker used the time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero and establishing a secret council of supervillains that rules this world from the shadows. But recently the Maker was locked away in a place called the City, and now the Maker's council works to further exercise their influence on the world, including Sunfire, Viper, and Silver Samurai, who oversee the eastern territory of Hinokuni, the land of the sun. There's a young girl named Hisako Ichiki is about to find her life changed forever. In March, at Kirigaya Minami Middle School, cherry blossoms are blowing in the wind. The creator has eliminated countries and has called them areas, but it's evident that this is what we call Japan. We are introduced to our hero, Hisako Ichiki. Hisako had been scarcely present during her middle school years, but today marks her graduation. She has missed a significant amount of school due to depression. Hisako is receiving her diploma along with a second button. In Japanese culture, when a boy gives you his second button, it's a sign that he likes you. Hisako is shocked to see that a boy has given her his second button, indicating his affection towards her. This tradition in Japan involves boys taking off their second button from their uniform and giving it to the girl they hold closest to their heart as a sign of affection. However, in this case, the boy who gave Hisako his second button has disappeared, leaving her surprised and perhaps wondering about his sudden departure. Unfortunately, as is often the case with children, they can be cruel. In this instance, they perceive Hisako as creepy and believe her depression is contagious. As a result, everyone runs away from her, making fun of her as they go. The behavior reflects the harsh realities of bullying and social exclusion that many individuals face, particularly when they are perceived as different or struggling with mental health issues. The button that Hisako receives contains a small note. The note, written in Japanese, says, "Meet me at the temple in the mountain behind the school. Our time has come, my friend." Hisako is shocked by the use of the term friend. Hisako, despite her suspicion of a possible cruel pang, decides to investigate further. Even when her mom calls informing her of her late arrival, Hisako remains determined. She hops on her bike and heads to the temple, eager to uncover the identity of the mysterious person who left her the note. As she waits at the temple, her curiosity and anticipations heightened. She finds herself lost in her thoughts, questioning her decisions as doubt clouds her mind. "I don't know why I came. All my decisions today have been wrong," she thinks to herself. However, her contemplation is interrupted by a sudden noise nearby. Her sense sharpens as she becomes alert, wondering what or who could be approaching. As Hisako looks up, she sees a boy approaching. Recognition flickers in her eyes and she realizes who it is. A tear escapes her eye, tracing a path down her cheek, a mixture of emotions flooding her heart at the sight of the familiar face. Confusion grips Hisako as she struggles to comprehend what she's experiencing. Doubt creeps in as she questions her own perception, wondering if she's merely seeing things. The uncertainty of her reality adds to the turmoil within her, leaving her feelings unsettled and unsure of herself. A dark, ominous figure materializes before Hisako, its presence casting a chilling atmosphere around her. The figure addresses her with a sinister greeting, using her name with a tone of anticipation. "We know it as the Shadow King, instilling fear and apprehension in Hisako's heart as she realizes the gravity of the situation. Trembling with fear, Hisako manages to summon the courage to ask the dark figure before her, "Who are you?" Her voice quivers slightly, betraying her anxiety as she awaits the ominous entity's response. With a mixture of fear and curiosity, Hisako asks the Shadow King if he was the one who left the note in the button. The Shadow King confirms, explaining that he needed a means to meet her since she hasn't been attending school. Hisako now wanting to know the purpose of their meeting. The Shadow King reveals his intention to give Hisako a charm. A sense of foreboding washes over her as she wonders about the true nature of this gift and what it might entail. Despite her apprehension, she remains transfixed. Hisako's voice quivers as she asks the Shadow King, "Where did you get this charm?" Her curiosity is tingled with a growing sense of unease. Hisako's breath catches in her throat as she realizes the significance of the charm. It was indeed Tsubasa's, a friend who had given it to her. The mention of Tsubasa sends a wave of emotions crushing over her. Memories of her friendship now tainted by the presence of the Shadow King. Fear and sorrow intervene within her as she grapples with the implications of the charm's connection to both Tsubasa and the ominous figure before her. Hisako's heart aches as she recalls the bond she shared with Tsubasa. They were not just friends, they were best friends, inseparable in their closeness. Tsubasa's kindness, his infectious laughter, and his zest for life flood her mind, filling her with a bittersweet longing for what once was. The painful truth resurfaces in Hisako's mind as she remembers Tsubasa's ultimate timely death. The weight of grief settles heavily upon her heart, a constant reminder of the void left by his absence. Hisako's heart clenches with a guilt as she recalls the torment Tsubasa endured at the hands of bullies. The realization hits her like a sledgehammer. They haven't noticed. They hadn't cared to listen to his cries for help. A surge of regret floods her being as she acknowledges the possibility that they could have saved Tsubasa if only they had bothered to hear him, to intervene, to offer support. The Shadow King words cuts through Hispasa's like a knife, echoing the painful truth she had been avoiding. "But we turned away, admitted we killed Tsubasa," he says, his voice dipping with accusation. Hispasa's breath catches in her throat as she weighs the guilt bears down upon her, realizing the role of their collective neglect in this tragic fate. The Shadow King's accusation strikes Hisako like a thunderbolt, leaving her reeling with a mix of horror and disbelief. "You know it. You just don't want to take responsibility. That's why you stopped coming to school. You're responsible for the death of your friend," he hisses, his words dripping with venomous accusations. Hisako's heart pounds in her chest as she struggles to process the weight of his words. The guilt she has been carrying all this time now threatens to consume her entirety as she grapples with the crushing realization that she may indeed bear some responsibility for her friends, for her best friends' tragic end. Desperation tinges Hisako's voice as she pleads with the Shadow King. "Stop it! I tried. It wasn't my fault." Her words quiver with a mix of anguish and defiance as she vehemently denies the accusation levied against her. The Shadow King's voice echoes with a chilling resonance as he speaks through Hisako, his words mirroring his own thoughts but twisted with malevolence. "I quit running from my problems. My eyes are open. The time for sorrow is over. Now it's time for vengeance," he declares, his presence dominating his conscience like a puppet master pulling the strings. Hisako feels a cold shiver run down her spine as she realizes the extent of the control over her mind. She knows she must break free from his grasp before his influence consumes her completely. As the horrifying remembrance of the devastating aftermath of Tsubasa's final act, the sight of him lifeless and suspended sends a wave of terror coursing through her veins, paralyzing her with fear. Without a second thought, she turns and flees from the horrifying scene, the images seared into her mind like a haunting nightmare. Her heart pounds in her chest as she runs, the echoes of her footprints mingling with the agonized cries of her own conscience. Hisako's chest constricts with the height of guilt and sorrow as she pedals furiously on her bicycle, tears streaming down her cheeks in blur. Each tear bears the weight of her remorse, each pedal stroke driven by the desperate need to escape the pain of her friend's tragic fate. She whispers apologies into the wind, her voice choked with emotion, begging for forgiveness from a friend she can never truly reach again. And yet she knows deep down that no amount of tears or apologies can ever bring Tsubasa back. All she can do now is carry the weight of her grief and strive to honor his memory in whatever way she can. Hisako clutches the charm tightly in her hands, the weight of the significant bearing down on her. Within this small object large a larger truth, a reminder of a friendship she once shared with Tsubasa, now forever altered by tragedy. The image of the armor around a person etched onto the charm serves as a symbol of her sorrow and regret. With each passing moment, she feels the weight of responsibility for what happened to her friend, the burden of guilt upon her shoulders. Hisako's heart lurches as she hears Tsubasa's voice, a haunting echo from the depths of her own guilt-ridden conscience. The words cut through her like a knife, piercing the veil of her despair and brutal clarity. "Why are you running away? You're the one who told me not to run," he says, his voice tingled with accusation and hurt. Hisako's breath catches in her throat as she realized the painful truth of his words. She had been the one to urge him to face his problems head on, and yet now she finds herself fleeing from her own. Shame washes over her like a tidal wave as she grapples with the devastation realization of her hypocrisy. As Hisako races away from the temple, her mind consumed by distress and turmoil, she fails to pay attention to her surroundings, her vision blurred by tears, her thoughts clouded by guilt. She is unaware of the imminent danger racing towards her. Oblivious to the sound of screeching tires and the blaring of a horn, she continues to sprint heedlessly, each step carrying her further from the haunting visions that torment her. But in her frantic escape, she fails to notice the speeding car hurling towards her, its headlights bearing down on her with deadly intent. In the brink of the collision, Hisako's latent mutant abilities surge forth in a moment of dire need. As the car hurtles toward her, her armored powers manifest, surrounding her in a protective barrier akin to a figure depicted on the charm she holds. A larger armored figure materializes, shielding her from the impending impact. With a deafening crash, the car slams into the armored barrier, its momentum abruptly halted by the force of Hisako's newfound abilities. The screech of metal against metal fills the air as the car crumbles against the impenetrable shield, sparing Hisako from harm's way in a miraculous display of her mutant potential. Breathless and shaken, Hisako stammers out in disbelief. "That car, but I'm not dead. I'm not hurt." She gazes in astonishment as the wreckage before her, realizing that she has emerged unscathed from the potential fatal collision. The realization dawns upon her that she was shielded by the armor and manifestation of her own mutant powers that had intervened to protect her in the moment of peril. Hisako turns to face the armored figure that had shielded her from harm. As she locks eyes with the imposing yet protective manifestation of her mutant powers, a sense of connection washes over her. The armored figure responds with a subtle moment as replicating her gesture before fading away into the ether. Hisako is left standing amidst the aftermath of the collision, a newfound sense of purpose stirring her as she contemplates the significance of her extraordinary encounter. Hisako's breath catches her in her throat as she surveys the wreckage of the car that moments ago threatened her life. Despite the violent collision, she stands before it unscathed, not a single scratch marring her skin. Her heart pounds with a mixture of disbelief and gratitude as she realizes the full extent of the newfound abilities. The sight of the undamaged vehicle serves as a stark reminder of the protective armor that surrounds her, shielding her from harm's way. With a sense of wonder and awe, Hisako takes a moment to process the miraculous turn of events before her. The following day, as Hisako watches the news, her heart sinks at the sight of the report detailing the incident from the preceding night. The television screen displays the images of the wreckage, accompanied by somber commentary about the driver's critical condition. Despite though investigations, authorities remain baffled by the mysterious circumstances surrounding the crash. Witnesses report seeing the car swerve abruptly in an attempt to avoid hitting a young girl, but no such person has been found at the scene. As Hisako listens to the news reports, a sense of unease washes over her. She knows the truth behind the transpired, but the thought of revealing her involvement fills her with apprehension. Hisako's mom calls her for dinner. Only her mom and her grandmother are sitting at the table watching the news. Hisako believes it's all her fault for her friend's death. This also indicates that when she faces problems, she doesn't confide in her mom or her grandmother. Instead, she keeps everything bottled up inside. Hisako's steps falter as she approaches the temple once again, her heart pounding with a mixture of apprehension and determination. With each footfall, she confronts the ghosts of her past, the shadows of her fears looming large before her. Yet fueled by a newfound resolve, she pushes forward, refusing to let her fears hold her back any longer. As she stands before the temple, Hisako takes a deep breath, steeling herself from what lies ahead. With each breath, she sheds the weight of her guilt and sorrow, replacing it with a steely determination to confront the demons that have haunted her for so long. She lays flowers down and pays respects, looking up at the tree. The Shadow King is back and says, "Guilty conscience, Hisako, or were you looking for this? You dropped your diploma last night. Wouldn't want to leave behind evidence, would you?" The Shadow King says, "Come on, Hisako. This will be easier if you join me." Hisako says, "This isn't about Tsubasa's death at all. That's just your excuse. Why don't you tell me what you really want from me?" The Shadow King responds, "Why would you say that?" The Shadow King says, "I only wanted to help you work through your trauma. You play the victim hiding secure in your cocoon. No longer I'll tear you out of the snug little shell, you traitor." The Shadow King's tone becomes increasingly aggressive as he speaks. Suddenly, Hisako's mutant powers surge forth once again, activated by the heightened state of trouble and fear. In a burst of energy, her armor ability manifests, surrounding her in a protective barrier. The black suit emanating from the aggressive Shadow King is repelled by the resilient armor, unable to penetrate its formidable defense. As the confrontation intensifies, Hisako finds herself relying on her newfound ability to shield her from the malevolent force before her. The suit emerges from the Shadow King's forms, its voice echoing with accusation. "This is your fault, Tsubasa. Should never have relied on you." It declares, its words, "Thank you for accepting my invitation once again. You know the three boys who bullied Tsubasa? You won't see them around anymore. I wanted to let you know." Quote the Shadow King. The Ultimate X-Men go back to school, high school, that is. It's a new school year for Hisako as she tries to get a grasp on her new powers, where she meets a cool, white-haired punk girl named May, aka Maystorm, who understands all too well the challenge Hisako faces, and they team up to embark on a creepy adventure to learn who is behind the creepy shadow that has been haunting and taunting them. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 2. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, who he stationed to rule over different regions of the world, including the eastern territory of Haino Kunu. There, on the night of her middle school graduation, a young girl named Hisako Ichiki had unusual powers awakened to protect her from a car accident and from a sinister shadow seeking vengeance against the people who had tormented Hisako's childhood friend Tsubasa into taking his own life. The shadow promised Hisako that the first victim would be Tsubasa's coach. The next day, the coach was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Hisako Ichiki is lying on the bed, gazing up at the ceiling. She notices what appears to be a crack forming, spreading with black tendrils. Strangely, the crack then appears on her cheek. Hisako is seen conversing sadly with Tsubasa, a boy who tragically took his own life due to the bullying at school. Tsubasa expresses his reluctance to return to school, and Hisako interrupting as a rebellious act akin to a punk rock. She regrets her response with hindsight. She wonders if she should have said something different, if she should have tried to persuade him otherwise. She never imagined that he would have taken such a drastic measures and end his own life. It seems to be a dream after all, as within the memory or dream, a strange black opening eye emerges. It's a red eye resembling a flower with the pupils resembling a strange flower. Someone seems to be watching her, perhaps through her dream. She opens her hand and finds a crumbled piece of paper in it. What could that be? Hisako's mom asks her to pick up some eggs on her way home from her motorcycle riding class. Feeling frustrated, Hisako, who used to attend the class, is now taking a break. She sits down on some steps and notices a bag of eggs nearby. Suddenly, a figure appears before her, a girl asking if she's the one from the car wreck a few weeks ago. Hisako is surprised as not even the news knew who was involved in the accident, and she saw nobody. Hisako denies it, stating she's not the right person. The girl introduces herself as May and asks for Hisako's story. Then suddenly she shares a secret to prove trust, pulling out a battery-powered toy dog that sings despite lacking batteries. Hisako thinks to herself that the girl is weird, but perhaps she is worth trusting. She hands May the crumbled piece of paper, and May suggests they follow the message written on it. It says, "I'm waiting for you in the science lab of an abandoned school. Come to me." They arrive at the school, surprised to find the doors, even though it's supposedly been closed for years, open. Hisako notices a dark shadow at one of the windows, and May is already almost inside, urging Hisako to follow. Hisako wonders about the connection between the school and the car crash. She explains that she received a similar note right before the accident, instructing her to go to the temple. When she arrived, a creepy shadow figure started talking about vengeance, and then the teacher died. She hopes to stop it before he claims another victim. Hisako admits that she's mad at herself for being too scared to go after him alone and should have told May before involving her. May replies, "Are you kidding? You're like a superhero. This is so cool." As they explore the abandoned school, Hisako steps on something squishy. Upon inspection, she realizes a stuffed toy resembling an animal. Hisako wonders why it's here and how many others have touched it. Suddenly, behind them, a security guard appears. The security guard admonishes them, saying, "Hey, you kids can't be here. This prop is off limits. What kind of stunt are you pulling? Making a ghost video?" As his skin is very gray compared to the kids. The two girls and the security guard open a door and are shocked by what they find inside. Stuffed animals hang from the ceiling with Japanese script notes attached, likely naming the bullies. Candles burn and many pictures are pinned up. Suddenly, the room speaks, addressing Hisako and thanking her for accepting the invitation. The voice claims that there are 3 boys who killed Tsubasa won't be around anymore. Hisako realized that the black figure must be the Shadow King. Then the Shadow King acknowledges the presence of Hisako's friend. Hisako turns to the security guard only to find out that he's no longer human. His face unravels, revealing a mass of worms. The security guard questions who the killer is. May and Hisako start running down the corridor, but May turns to face the creature. She uses a wind blast as she has a wind powers, blowing the worms apart. Despite May's efforts, the shadow figure bursts through the worms and stares at them. May says they can't stop it as the fight continues. Now it's Hisako's turn. She screams at it, "Go away!" We see the armor power shielding Hisako, and the eggs crack wide open. We see the abandoned school, followed by a modern Japanese house with white flames or smoke emanating from the top. Inside the house, we enter a Japanese closet in a room where someone with a bucket on their head, reminiscent of the Shadow King, is surrounded by various images and scripts pinned up on the walls. They remove the helmet, revealing a guy with glasses who questions why. He opens the closet doors and sits inside pondering. "I know that girl. I know her face from somewhere. Hisako." Next to the closet hangs a high school uniform jacket, implying he's a high school student. Among his particular collection of papers, a photo of Hisako. Many questions arise. Is this the Shadow King? If so, why doesn't he know Hisako? The closet bears a striking resemblance to the abandoned school, as do pictures and scripts adoring the walls. We jump to the Hirodori High School entrance ceremony, a significant event in Japan. It's the entrance into high school, and attending the ceremony is essential. "I saw it on the news," says May-chan, interrupting Hisako's thoughts. The next morning, 3 students were found hanging from their old high school. Hisako wonders if it wasn't suicide and if she is cursed, fearing she might die too. May is delighted to chat with Hisako and suggests they exchange contact information. Hisako admits she doesn't use social media or her phone properly. May introduces herself properly as May Igarashi, and Hisako responds, "My name is Hisako Ichiki. Nice to meet you." They then discuss the crazy news from that morning and speculate if it was the Shadow Guy, the Shadow King, or the boy in the closet. Next issue, Ultimate X-Men, Volume 2, Issue 3. The mysterious May Storm revealed. May Storm's origin. May Iragashi was a regular girl until she discovered her unusual ability and her hair changed from brown to white, and how she came to idolize a mysterious freedom fighter in Africa who also harnesses the power of the storm. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero except for those on his secret Maker's Council, who he stationed to rule over different regions of the world, including the eastern territory of Hinokuni. There, a young girl named Hisako Ichiki has been plagued by a sinister shadow seeking vengeance against those who tormented Hisako's childhood friend Tsubasa. Fortunately, she suddenly found herself with unusual powers to protect her, and she's not the only one. When the shadow attacked again, a friendly but odd girl named Mi Igarashi defended the duo by summoning gusts of wind. After the incident, the pair found each other again at their high school entrance ceremony. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 3. Starting with a flashback, we see Hisako, Sayaka, and a boy who is somehow connected with the Shadow King. Previously, we saw this boy with a homemade charm resembling Cerebo. The three of them are using a Oji board with a Japanese coin. The boy remains silent out the session. They do not know who he is or who invited him. 2 years later, Hisako is with Mei, and when she finds 10 yen coin reminding her of the game with the boy connected to the Shadow King, Mei finds a thread on her phone about rumors regarding Tsubasa, even identifying the kids who were killed. Mei asks Hisako about her armor. Hisako says, "I always carry the charm. It's weird. Even when I've forgotten at home, it shows up in my pocket." Then Hisako asks Mei, "How did you find out about your powers?" Mei replies, "I don't honestly know. It's like I needed it so badly, I made it happen." Usually the X gene manifests in the teenage years, often triggered by distress or dire circumstances. Several months later, from the initial flashback, it's notable that Mei's phone, which was cracked 2 years later, is not cracked in the flashback. This may signifying that something changed or happened, possibly indicating the activation of mutant powers. Mei is surfing her phone, and this time it is about Wind Rider from Ultimate Black Panther, who is this world's Storm. Mei walked into the kitchen, and her father strangely did not give any reaction to her. Her mother wants Mei to introduce herself to a neighbor next door to let them know they had just moved in. She cares deeply about impressions. However, Mei's father does not say a word. These parents do not seem like good parents, as Mei's mother is only concerned about what other people think, and Mei's father does not care about anything, especially his family. After school, Mei walks home and heads to the neighbor's house. She wonders if anyone is there, but only sees a cat with a strange collar and the same symbol on its forehead painted. The cat seems afraid. Mei knocks on the door and asks if anyone is home. A boy who might have social anxiety is just looking at her. Mei introduces herself and says, "This must be your cat. Is he okay?" This is the only reason the boy opens the door. The cat seems scared and panicked as the boy wearing a hat with a same symbol on it tries to grab the cat. The cat claws at Mei's hands, trying to get away from the boy. The cat cuts her, but there seems to be a strange reaction to her skin. After making it home following the cat's scratch, Mei's mom doesn't even say hello. Mei rests with her hand stretched out, noticing something strange happening with it. Could it be affected by the Shadow King? Suddenly, Mei is awakened by the sound of her parents fighting. It seems her father is cheating on her mother again. The father doesn't say a word as dinner is ready, but the situation downstairs between Mei's parents is explosive. Mei says, "Are you two at it again? If you're gonna fight, can you not wake me up? It's not like I can eat with you yelling at each other." The mother responds, "He won't answer to anything. It's like I don't exist. He won't even look at me when I'm talking." The father remains unresponsive. Mei advises her mother, "Then leave him. Who needs him anyway?" However, like a battered woman siding with her abuser, the mother retorts, "How dare you talk to your father that way?" Despite the father cheating and being abusive, the mother sides with him. Suddenly, the father reacts by slamming his hand down. Still not saying a word, he grabs one of Mei's hands, hurting her, and then winds his hand back to slap her in the face. Finally, the mother shows concern for Mei. The father sits down as if nothing happened, returning to his newspaper. But something is triggered in Mei. In an amazing scene, her mutant powers are activated. A huge storm of wind breaks out, blowing the father away, the mother away, and shattering all the plates. Suddenly, everything in the house is moving with the power of Mei. Her mutant powers have been activated in this moment of distress. Water is everywhere, soaking everything. The whole house is trashed. Despite the chaos, the father still hasn't really reacted. However, something has happened to Mei's hair. It has turned from black to white. Her eyes have also changed color. The mom is shocked, realizing the mutation has altered Mei's hair and eye color. Dad, who has ignored everyone and bad at his child finally speaks. I don't need punks like you in my house. Get out. May is stunned. Her father is kicking her out when she probably needs him the most. She has changed and has no home. She is shocked to see what has happened. We return to the present day where May Storm is sitting with Hisako and gets hit by a dodgeball. We are introduced to some characters. Nico Monroe, who doesn't play dodgeball because it's that time of the month, likely using this as an excuse to avoid the game. In her counterpart universe, she is part of the team The Runaways, where she was the leader and part of the Strange Academy staff. She wields the Staff of One to perform magic. Nico exudes an air of mystery and is a subject of fascination among her peers, particularly Hisako due to the rumored paranormal abilities of her parents. Nevertheless, Nico herself exhibits a more reserved demeanor as evidenced by her avoidance of gym class. Another character is Mori, whose 616 counterpart is Molly Hayes of The Runaways. She is similar to Molly Hernandez of Earth 199999, differing in ethnicity from the mainland counterpart. She has a bunny ears and, like Nico, is not participating in PE class. In her Earth counterpart, she has super strength. The third character is Natsu, who wears an eye patch on her right eye concealing a red eye. The design of Natsu, which translates to summer in Japanese, is accompanied by several visual clues that suggest her to be Earth's 16160 equivalent of Cyclops, Scott Summers. These include the eye patch covering the red eye and the tracksuit, which evokes the style of Scott Summers during X-Men Volume 2. Nico pulls out a magnifying glass, which could possibly be the Staff of One. It might transform into the usual Staff of One at a later time. She looks at Hisako and Mary and says, "Interesting. You two are mutants too." Next, Ultimate X-Men, Volume 2, Issue 4. Things got a whole lot more fun around here. Quote, Surge, a diabolical genius known as the Maker, used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, whom he stationed to rule over different regions of the world, including the eastern territory of Haino Kuni. There's a young girl named Hisako Ichiki, armor, and new powers awaken to protect her when a sinister shadow attack claiming to seek vengeance against those who tormented Hisako's childhood friend Tsubasa. When the shadow attacked again, her classmate Mei Igarashi Maystorm joined her, defending the duo with guts of wind. Neither really understands the source of their powers, but another classmate, Nico Monroe, claims that they are mutants. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2 Issue 4. In Kirasaki City at Irodori High School, it is a rainy day as Mei and Hisako are taking their final examinations for the year. Hisako asks, "How did you do? Did you study?" Mei, more happy about the exam being over, replies, "No, I did not study." Mei also remarks, "There is so much rain these days," as the picture of Kirasaki City looks very gloomy. Nico Monroe is reading another fortune. Hisako and Mei question if she can really see things, even their powers. Hisako says, "I don't know. She acts like she has powers. Either that or she's faking it." In the equivalent universe, Nico Monroe has magical powers. She is reading Mori's future. Hisako has gotten her driver's license for a motorcycle, but she needs to get used to driving in the rain. Because Hisako's mom is working late again, Hisako must cook dinner. Usually Mei and Hisako hang out together, and they have become quite good friends. Hisako gets on top of her motorcycle while it is raining. She is a model 1980s Honda Raccoon and wears her mom's old jacket from back when she used to ride with Hisako's dad. This bike was owned by Hisako's late father, who rode it when he was young. Suddenly, a boy wearing a trench coat walking in the rain comes up to her. Hisako questions why the boy is here. The boy's name is Amano. Amano's friends had committed suicide in March. Amano visited Iridori High School to meet with Hisako, the best friend of the late Tsubasa, who has been bullied by Amano's friends. Amano was seeking answers regarding their mysterious suicides. Amano and Hisaki look each other in the eyes. Hisako's mom is proud of the dinner they had laid out tonight. She also noticed Hisako's mom ran into Amano's mom and mentioned Amano is really depressed since his friends killed themselves. Amano is confirmed to have gone to the same middle school with Hisako. Hisako's mom wishes he is okay. Hisako's mom also mentions that she saw a scratch on the bike and asks if she fell. Hisako wants to look up Amano and brings out a middle school graduation album. This is the same boy from the parking lot at middle school. Hisako knew it. A lot happened before Hisako came home to fix dinner and got the scratch on her bike. Amano approached her and said, "You're Hisako Ichiki, aren't you? You were friends with Tsubasa. Everything has gone to hell since he died. My friends killed themselves, but they would never have done that. There's no way. You know something. I know you do. Tell me." Amano grabbed Hisako, but she drove away as fast as possible. As Hisako is driving away on her motorcycle, she hits a water puddle, skidding away and crashing. That's causing the scratch on her bike that her mom had saw. She says, "Oh, what happened? It looks like hair from a head has got caught in the spoke. It is the head of Tsubasa." The head of Tsubasa says, "You're running away again?" Amano is possessed by the external force at this point. This external force is the shadow. Before this, he was not possessed. Hisako picks up her bike, activates the armor, and revs up the motorcycle. Any fear she had is now gone, knowing the armor will protect her. The possessed Amano says, "Such confidence, Hisako, so different from the last time we met. You're learning to control your powers," as the shadow has many ominous dark shadows coming out with what looks like metal razors. The shadow said, "Do you think that will save you?" as he throws all these metal razors at Hisako. The armor is protecting her on her motorcycle. The armor defends against anything the shadow throws at them and even catches a few of them, but many more come. The armor, the bike, and Hisako ram into the shadow and hit hard. Again, the bike falls to the ground and the shadow bounces to the floor. Amano is possessed and gets up with one of the metal razors. Hisako was crying as the shadow says, "Do you know how Tsubasa killed himself? Like this." Hisako, surrounded by protection of armor, and screams out as the shadow tries to attack from all sides, but the armor shields her effectively. With all the commotion, Hisako's classmates start taking pictures, clipping and recording videos, asking questions like, "Did Hisako crash? And what is that pink goop all over her?" Mei sees her friend on the floor, visibly concerned. Interesting, the shadow and Amano have disappeared without a trace. Nico Monroe says to Mei, "I knew she was a mutant." Mei runs towards her friend Hisako to make sure that she is okay. Even though Mei wanted everyone to know that she is a mutant, she didn't want this to happen to Hisako. As people are recording and taping, she yells, "Stop filming." Mei uses her powers over electricity and rain. Mei electrifies the smartphones and then pours rain all over the students. The phones are destroyed by either electricity, rain, or wind that they drop, except for one. The one smartphone that did not get electrocuted was caught by a finger of a fellow mutant. She takes the electricity, forms into a ball, puts it in her mouth, and pops it like a pop rock. She is Surge, also known as Norika Ashida. Surge is a mutant who has developed the ability to generate and absorb electricity. A few days later, the sun has returned and there's no more rain. The teacher hands back the test results and wants to see a few people after class. Obviously, Mei did not do well. Mei says, "Ugh, makeup class, I don't have time for this. I wish I could tell people I have powers." Just then, Hisako's phone is beeping insistently. Something's going on. The image of Hisako on the ground with the fallen motorcycle surrounded by pink armor shocks her. Hisako says, "Is that me? How could they? Oh God, it's going viral." Mei is in denial, saying, "Impossible. I fried everyone's phone." Hisako responds, "Not everyone. This is bad." Next, Ultimate X-Men, Volume 2, Issue 5. The New Mutants face their first enemy. May Storm isn't the only mutant with electric powers, and Noriko Ashida is here to make sure she knows it. A fun summer festival turns haunted and dangerous as spirits and Surge collide. Plus, the Shadow, who has been haunting Armor, finally reveals his true face. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 5. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero except for those on his secret, the Maker's Council, whom he sanctioned to rule over different regions of the world, including the eastern territory of Hainan Kuni. There is a teenage girl named Hisako Ichiki. Armor had new powers awakened to protect her when a sinister shadow attacked. Ever since the shadow has followed her, bringing dark and unusual occurrences with it. During a recent confrontation, a group of onlookers caught Armor's power on video. Though her friend Mei Igarashi Maystorm fried their phones with her lightning powers and damage was already done, the next day the video was trending on social media. Armor and Maystorm don't understand the source of their powers, but another classmate, alleged psychic Nico Minoru, claims they're mutants. We open up with Shinobi Kageyama, the Earth 616 Shadow King, watching Tsubasa being bullied on his smartphone. Shinobi's first name means stealth, while his family name Kageyama means shadow, depending on the kanji used. This alludes to his mutant powers. We also have Noriko Ashida, Earth 616, also known as Surge, looking at her smartphone across from Shinobi. Surge asks if the world's Shadow King has any plans for summer break because she needs help fixing her computer, as she always ends up breaking them. A surge of electricity runs up her leg as they both see the viral video of Hisako Ichiki. Shinobi and Hisako went to middle school together, and although Shinobi has done many creepy things, he insists he didn't do this to her. Surge is curious about Hisako's secrets, but Shinobi replies, maybe one day. In the last issue, Surge caught Maystorm's lightning recording the video, and it was implied that she was the one who uploaded it to make it public. Shinobi makes an excuse that he has to go because his friend is calling him. Surge sarcastically replies, like you have friends. Shinobi responds, have a nice summer. Don't work too hard before leaving. We pick up in Armor's room as she sits down with Maystorm and talks about the shadow, describing the first time it appeared. As she speaks, the shadow manifests before her, seemingly taking over May's entire body. The shadow tells Armor that he just wants to be friends, insisting that they are the same, that they have powers no one else could ever dream of, and that together they could control the entire world. Armor then snaps out of it and finds May and Nico sitting before her. Nico is claiming that she is a psychic, that all three of them are in effect mutants, though none of them fully understand what that means just yet. But Nico is here today because they're going to try to figure out what has been going on with Armor ever since she has given this little amulet. Her powers have manifested and the shadows has failed her around. As Nico tries to observe it, trying to get some kind of reading off it, she looks at it, she observes it through a magnifying glass, shattering in her hands, and then from the amulet, this is when the boy begins to come through. He's been using the amulet to show up wherever he wanted. Now they have been exposed. The shadow crawls out of the admin in a state of panic. Nico takes out a book and slams it on the shadow. The Shadow King is squished under a book as Nico says, this thing is what has been stalking you. When Maystorm lifts the book, the Shadow King reemerges, but Nico's magnifying glass is shattered. Whether it is merely a magnifying glass or something more sophisticated is currently unknown. It's seemingly capable of detecting mutants. Then the same magnifying glass elongates like a staff and the crack is repaired. Whatever the magnifying glass is doing, it seems to be working to get rid of the Shadow King. Nico is surprised that she was able to do this. Nico Monroe explains, my grandmother gave me this. There's more to it than I thought. A pack made with blood. I've read about this in my grandmother's research, so it really is true. Meanwhile, Hisako retrieves her Amamore back. As we pick up with Surge, it's unclear exactly what's happening, but we do know that this guy owes her money for a service. We see Surge fry his brain, rob him, and then take off. Back at school, Surge spits her gum at a picture of Shiro Yashida, the Sun Emperor. Shiro Yashida is the Sun Emperor, one of the leaders of the geopolitical region named Hai no Kuni, which was among the 7 sovereign bodies whose combined power governed the entire world. He led one of the 3 Pacific clans that consolidated into the Harada Yashida Alliance, along with Silver Samurai and the Viper. These three leaders of Haino Kuni were part of a secret council under the world's Imperator, the Maker, who orchestrated geopolitical conflicts and alliances to unite their citizens under a common cause. Surge is clearly not aligned with the Maker. As Surge passes Nico and May, May turns around, noticing Surge, thinking she looks like trouble and not the fun kind. May says to Nico, "Hey Nico, about our powers. You said we're mutants. Do you think that Shadow Uzi guy is a mutant too? Do you think Hisako is going to be okay left alone? She's still pretty shaken up by the video and everything." Nico replies, "Hisako is not a child. She'll get over it. Even if we find out who's behind that shadow, Hisako needs to face her fears or nothing will change." May then asks, "You said something about a pact with blood. Is that how you got your powers too? I got scratched by a cat." Nico responds, "Blood is the only initiator. Who did you make the pact with and why?" May replies, "If I knew that, we wouldn't need your help. You're the big psychic. You tell me." Nico says, "I've heard rumors of a cult that performs rituals with blood." Nico explains, "The Shadow King is part of this cult, and so is his mother. They have a secret chambers hidden within what looks like a regular office building. One theory suggests they gather to experiment and learn. They call themselves Homo Superior Mutants. This cult believes they are the progeny of humanity, the next stage of evolution. They use a sigil, the same one I saw in Hisako's Amomori. My grandma was obsessed with this cult. I read all her research, but I thought it was a myth." May says, "Okay, let me get this straight. We're going to have to fight an entire cult, like a bunch of people with powers just like us, but they're crazy?" Nika responds, "Don't get ahead of yourself. First, we have to find out if they even exist and then see if they have anything to do with Hisako and her shadow stalker." May adds, "And then fight them?" May then says, "If we're fighting bad guys, we're going to need a team name." "I got it. X Team." Nico asks, "Why X Team?" May replies, "Because we all have bad grades, a bunch of X's on our test." Nico responds, "Speak for yourself. I get an excellent grades. Besides, we're not in elementary school, you know." May then suggests, "And how about the Secret Society X-Men?" Nico says, "X-Men? I guess it sounds better than team." May adds, "You can invite Natsu and Mori too. We don't want to leave anyone out. Do they have powers?" Natsu Chakumisi is the Earth 616 equivalent of Cyclops. She wears an eye patch on her right eye which conceals a red eye. The design of Natsu, whose name means summer in Japanese, includes visual cues that suggest she is an Earth 616 counterpart to Cyclops. These includes the eye patch covering the red eye and a tracksuit reminiscent of Scott Summers' style during X-Men Volume 2. Mori is Earth 616 counterpart of Molly Hayes from The Runaways. She is similar to Molly Hernandez from Earth 199,099, differing in ethnicity from her main counterpart. In Earth 616, Molly is an 11-year-old member of the Runaways who possesses super strength. This is the beginning of the formation of the Secret Society X-Men in the Ultimate Universe, Earth 6160. Next, Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 6. The action-packed finale of the first arc. Armor, May Storm, and the rest of the team hunt down the mysterious Shadow. But is this the group of scrappy teens prepared to face true darkness? And don't miss the reveal of the final member of the group on the last page. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 6. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, whom he stationed to rule over different regions of the world, including the eastern territory of Haino Kuni. There are a teenage girl named Hisako Ichiki. Armor had new powers awakened to protect her when a sinister shadow attacked. Ever since, the shadow has followed her, bringing dark and unusual occurrences with it. Worse still, after a recent confrontation, a group of onlookers caught Armor's powers on video. Hisako enlisted the help of her friends, May, Igarashi Maystorm, and Nico Minro to track down the shadow. Nico believes it may be connected to a mysterious cult that her grandmother once researched. Nico Minro opens up and says, when my grandma was alive, she devoted herself to researching this cult. Everything she learned, she collected in this book. Nico continues, though it's not concrete proof that the cult exists, my grandma was deeply fascinated by it. She practiced ritual magic and spell casting. This symbol here, it also appears on Hisako's Amamore. Mori looks at the symbol and says, it's the children of the atom. This means the secret religion actually exists. They surmise that there is a link between Hisako's stalker and the cult. As every question is answered, another more pressing one takes its place. They suspect Hisako's stalker is a member, and they are right. The Shadow King is involved, and so is his mother. They deduce that Tsubasa, the boy who supposedly committed suicide, was a friend of Hisako, gave her the Amamore, and he might have also been part of the cult. Natsu and Mori have a secret, and Natsu says, it's okay, Mori. It doesn't matter if they know. Natsu says our parents are members of that group. We're not supposed to talk about it to outsiders. Just like that, they found the secret church, and it wasn't so hard after all. We go to the Shadow King, Shinobi Kajayama, who says, I am 16 years old and attended a Matsuki Academy. I was born and raised in normal middle-class family. I get normal grades and I have a normal friends of sorts. However, there's one thing about me that is not normal. Since I was little, I could hear people's thoughts. What's more, others can hear mine too. It took me some time to control this power. Even my mother was unsettled by my ability. What was inside my head disturbed her. She even tried to kill me. Children of the Atom saved my mother and saved me. They told me that I'm special, that I am superior. They say I am the savior of this world. Do you think so too? There are brochures for the Children of Atom featuring the symbol of this cult. The Children of the Atom is a religious organization from the eastern region of Haino-Kuni, one of the 7 territories that made up the world. They sought to help the children with unique abilities that set them apart by teaching them the tenets of the Testament of X. In reality, they were a cult of mutants who gathered behind the scenes of humanity to experiment and learn undisturbed. The Children of the Atom appeared to be Earth 616 equivalent of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the X-Men's nemesis organization. The Children of Atom draw heavily from Japan's new religious movements, particularly the controversial Happy Science. The Happy Science is not a good place. The Shadow King continues saying, they taught me how to control my abilities. They told me I could bring light and power to the world. I was guided by the Children of the Atom, which was founded on the teachings of the Testament of X. Now, not only can I freely communicate with others mentally, but I can also show them what I want them to see. The Children of the Atom also taught me how to suppress the madness inside of me. I guess that was a good thing. Mother seems happier at any rate. Shinobi continues, if Mother is happy, my family is happy. I was obedient and lived the way they told me to until I met you. Hisako Ichiki, as he pens a letter to Hisako. The stranger part is, Kajigami has never met Hisako. As the skies darken and the eerie noises whistle in the air, the Shadow King is approaching. Natsu says, Kagayami, is that you? The Shadow King is here and Kagayami has arrived for battle. Natsu warns, he creates shadows and illusions. Everyone be careful. He can make you see and hear things that aren't real. Don't trust your senses. Instead of running, hiding, or being fearful, the Secret Society X-Men stand their ground against the Shadow King. At the front line are Armor, Maystorm, and Nico Monroe, with Natsu and Mori supporting them from behind. Hisako is no longer afraid of the Shadow King. She has moved past Tsubasa's desk and even made new friends. As the Shadow King advances, Hisako surrounds herself with her armor. Maystorm brings the thunder, and Nico wields the Staff of One. Armor jumps into the battle first, squashing away the Shadow King's dark tendril. She says, you think I'm the one closed off from the world? That I have no friends? Why don't you come out of the shadows? The Shadow King isn't really there, but he feels the pain of Hisako pushing past her fear and overcoming his tentacles. Kajigami screams, no, no, my Hisako doesn't talk like that. Not my Hisako. Hisako, growing stronger with her mutant powers of armor, grabs the tentacles, trying to pull Kajigama towards her. She grips the dark shadow, saying, you don't get to hide in the shadows anymore. She did it. Hisako has pulled Kajigama out of the shadows towards her. Kajigama says, hi, Hisako, do you remember me? Hisako, with a shocked expression, replies, I don't know who you are. Kajigama begins to fall back into the shadows. Hisako screams, Nico, now. Nico uses the Staff of One to get rid of the Shadow King. Hisako says, that shadow, Kajigama, seemed different from before. I felt powerful for the first time because I was part of a team, the X-Men. Kageyama groans. God, my head. As he is beaten and bruised, his mother says, let's go see the Maester. The new villain is introduced. The Maester. The Maester says again, I suppose it should be expected for his age. Adolescent hormonal imbalance causes unstable behavior. Inform Mrs. Kageyama that he'll be fine. After all, he isn't like the rest. He is one of the chosen, a true homo superior. Kageyama is hooked up to some device, drinking something that is making him stronger. The device is repairing him. Then we come to a crucified mutant. Despite all the talk about blood oath and magic and other esoteric practices, the real heart of the children of Adam seems to be much more based on traditional medical science. They have a prisoner who is a mutant. Next, Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 7. More blessed children arise each day, yet their gifts appear only in moments of crisis, when they are irresolute. We must bolster the faithful. We need more like our Mr. Kageyama. Perhaps these new children need to be guided to their full potential. Quote, The Maester, Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 7. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used the time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, who he stationed to rule over different regions of the world, overseeing the eastern territory of Haino Kuni, Land of the Sun, is Sunfire, and his right-hand Viper. In Haino Kuni, a teenage girl named Hisako Ichiki Armor had new powers awakened to protect her when a sinister shadow attacked, as Hisako and her friends Mei Igarashi, Maystorm, and Nico Monroe pursued the source behind the shadow. They learned of a strange cult called the Children of the Atom that worship Homo superiors. Surprisingly, it turns out that Nico's friends, Natsu and Mori, are members of the cult, and they recognize the shadow as their fellow cult member, Shinobi Kageyama. At the Temple of the Revel X, Children of the Atom, the individual known only as the Maester leads the Children of the Atom, a secret mutant cult conducting deadly experiments on its young members at the behest of the Harada Yashada Alliance, the governing leaders of Haino Kuni region. His red diamond-adorned robes, his experimental on mutants, and his overall appearance, along with his leadership of an organization with mysterious public profile, suggests that he may be Earth 616 equivalent of Nathaniel Essex, also known as Mr. Sinister. The Maester says, how much superior in the name of the Testament of X. I, your Maester, have devoted my life to you as your humble servant, ensuring your joy and equality, my children of the atom. But like all children, you have outgrown your parent. The time has come to reveal your genetic superiority and reveal in your powers become truly free. The Maester continues, the end of times are upon us. The world will naturally look to you, the next stage of evolution, to save them, and you must be ready. Those who have yet to find their strength must blossom, control, and master your gifts. Embrace your divinity. Let us begin, my children of the atom, our most sacred ceremony. Receive your endowment. Many mutants believe in this religion, the children of Adam, most of whom were brought by their parents. One of them is Surge, Noriko Ashita. We are then brought to a waiting room of the children of the atom where Surge, Noriko Ashita, is next. The doctor asks her, how are you feeling these days? Everything good? She answers yes. From the scene, it appears they are taking blood from Surge. The nurse says, are we experiencing any side effects? If anything changes, tell your mother right away. We can't be too careful. And I'll be taking that phone, please. You're well aware that they are prohibited in this area. Yes, Surge was going to see the Shadow King, Shinobi Kageyama. But once again, the doctor stops her and says, Mr. Kageyama cannot be disturbed right now, and sends her off to her mother. Meanwhile, we see the Shadow King being sedated and monitored. In August 2024, following concerns raised by Shinobi Kageyama's mother regarding malfunctions in his powers, the Maester conducted a review and placed him in the organization's clinic at the Temple of the Revel X for further observations and treatment. Privately, he had his assistant, Sister Seda, bring him reports from a nearby church about a gang of mutant girls who had recently awakened to their powers. Hisako Ichiki, Mei Igarashi, and Nico Monroe, and expressed interest in bringing them to his institution. The Maester also communicates to Sister Seda how special Mr. Kageyama is. The Maester says, especially the miraculous Mr. Kageyama here, his gift, his X-gene, is beyond imagination. Not only is a telepath, but his ability to activate latent powers in others to awaken them to their potential makes him a superior among superiors. More blessed children arise each day, yet their gifts only appear in moments of crisis when they are at their most vulnerable. We must bolster the faithful. We need more like our Mr. Kagayami. Perhaps these new children need to be guided to their full potential. He was then approached by Emperor Sunfire's right-hand woman, the Viper, who expressed concern over the death of another experimented child. The Maester informed her that the body had been properly disposed of. However, Kagayami suddenly awoke from his sedation and launched a psychic attack on them while subconsciously calling out to Ichiki. Fortunately, Viper was able to administer another sedative. Viper then asked, is this boy subconsciously reaching out to Hisako Ichiki? At Iridoro High School, a new semester begins in September 2024. Mei and Hisako are talking about the Full Moon Harvest Festival, whether they will attend, but Hisako is more interested in finding out if Nico got any answers from Natsu. Just then, a girl bumps into Hisako. This is Keinan. Keinan briefly crossed paths with younger students Hisako Ichiki and Mei Igarashi while leaving school, but continued on to her kendo class. There, she skillfully defeated some second-year students before heading to her older brother's police station after class. Keinan San-Ochi is a resident of Karasaki City in the Haino-Kunan region and a student at the local Iridori High School. She lives with her older brother, police officer Tatsuya, and practices kendo in her spare time. Keinan is the Earth 616 variant of Kwanan, also known as Psylocke. Her background differs significantly from her malign counterpart, and this marks the first time Kwanan has been given a full name. Keinan then traveled to her older brother's police station after class. Tatsuya San-Ochi, a police officer in Karasaki City located within the Hainan Kunai region, greeted her. However, when they met, they argued. Tatsui said, Keinan, let me give you some advice. When you're good at something, like you are at kendo, you can't just beat people. Teach them, share what you know. You've got to learn to get people on your side. Otherwise, there will come a time when you need help and no one will be there. They argued until an old lady showed up claiming to have seen a battered briefcase in the local Arakawai River. The old lady said, I go for walks by the Arakawai River, been doing it for years, and I've been seeing a beat-up suitcase on the riverbank for the past few days. Intrigued, Keinan accompanied Tatsuya on his investigation even though he wanted her to go home. Tatsuya, on his bicycle, said, don't follow me. Eventually, they both came across the briefcase, which had a foul smell. Inside, the brother and sister duo found the remains of a deceased child. The body bore the symbol of the children of Adam and the number 127. Tatsuya threw up while Keinan took a picture of it with a click. Tatsuya would later report his findings to his superiors. This is the same body that the Viper was referring to in her conversation with the Maester. Viper had expressed concern over the death of a child who had undergone experimentation, and the Maester assured her that the body had been properly disposed of. The next day in the afternoon, Keinan returned home and tried to talk further about what they had found, but Tatsui tried to make it seem like if they had never found anything, having been visited by an agent of a mysterious organization and forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement. He insisted that Keinan also keep quiet about everything so they would not get into trouble. At Jugoya Matsuri, the Full Moon Harvest Festival, Mei greets Hisako saying, wow, you're in a yukata. So cute, referring to the traditional Japanese garment. Mei adds, thanks, Granny dressed me, feeling happy and playful, saying I should have asked her to dress you too. Hisako, reminiscing, responds, the last time I wore a yukata was with Tsubasa. Mei then points out, hey, is that Nico, Natsu, and Mori, as they notice the skies growing darker above them. Hisako says, Nico, you look cute in your yukata too. Nico replies, thank you, and Mei excitedly adds, twinsies! As Nico's head turns upward, Hisako asks, Nico, what are you looking at? Then Hisako notices it too and says, oh, do you all see that? Nico responds, yes, we do. Mei casually comments, you're just noticing? I saw it a while back. Natsu adds, so did I, but I thought it was just me. Hisako, growing concerned, asks, is it getting bigger? As they realize the Shadow King has filled the skies with total darkness, and it's expanding. Next, Ultimate X-Men, Volume 2, Issue 8. You have been warriors all your life, fighting prejudice, fighting hate, standing proud against the envy of those whom evolution has left behind. Those days are over. It is time to unleash your power, to step out from the shadows. Quote, the Maester. Who are the children of the atom? What are mutants? Where do they come from? And how has the Maker's Council been keeping them under control? All these dark questions and more start to unravel as our heroes investigate a murder that for some reason the authorities keep covering up, and Shadow King advances his sinister plots. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 8. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, whom he stationed to rule over different regions of the world. Overseeing the eastern territory of Hai no Kuni, Land of the Sun, is Sunfire, and his right hand, Viper. In Hai no Kuni, a group of high schoolers, Hisako Ichiki, Armor, Mei Igarashi, Maystorm, and Nico Monroe, have been searching for answers beyond powers that awaken to protect them in times of need, including against a shadow threatening Hisako and claiming to know her dead childhood friend Tsubasa. The search led them to a cult called Children of the Atom, but they aren't the only ones on the hunt. A senior at their school, Keinan Sanuchi Psylocke, and her brother Tatsuya, a police officer, found a suitcase with a human remains inside that is connected to the cult and to Viper. We see a young true crime fanatic by the name of Yukio doing a special live stream. Hello, faithful fans, your host and urban investigator, Chimaime here. Guess where? I am here tonight. That's right, the infamous Kirigaya Minamami Middle School, or should I say murder school. 3 former students are dead by suicide hanging in their old classroom. The 4th, their basketball coach, was found dead a few days earlier in his house, also swinging. Creepy, but that's not the whole story. I hope no one calls the cops on me. Come on, Yuki, you can do this. Here we go. As Yukio climbs the fence to enter Kirigaya Minami Middle School, she continues. The real body count is 5. That's right, there was another student on the basketball team who also killed himself. This happened before the other students and the coach died. And get this, the kid was apparently bullied by the same former students and coach who later killed themselves. Coincidence? I think not. 5 people, all connected, all died by suicide within a short period of time. What exactly is going on at Kirigaya Minami Murder School? Let's find out. Yukio continues saying it gets weirder. The first boy's name was Tsubasa. Rumor has it he was friends with the girl who went viral about 4 months ago. Armor Girl. You guys remember her with the pinkish red thing around her? Is she involved in all this? Where is this basketball court? I tell you, I have a hunch Armor Girl knows something we don't. If you're watching this, like, subscribe, and comment. Let's talk. We then go to the house of Keinan Psylocke and Tatsuya Sanochu. Tatsuya is a police officer and Keinan is a universe's version of Psylocke. They found a child who was experimented on, stuffed in his suitcase, who was one of the children of the atom. Viper, who is one of the council members of Maester, made Tatsuya sign a non-disclosure agreement, NDA. Tatsuya is looking for his sister and he thinks she is at the convenience store again. Tatsuya finds her sister, Keinan, and asks, why did you post it? Keinan had posted the NDA and the picture of the horror show of a suitcase. She says she deleted it right away, claiming it's no big deal. Tatsuya knows differently and replies, we're the ones who are going to get deleted. Turn your phone off. We need to go now. At Iridori High School, Hisako, Armor, Mace Storm, and Nico Monroe have found the deleted post of Keinan, and it is disturbing to see a child's body in a suitcase. They are starting to connect the dots, realizing that this corpse is one of the children of the atom, which they recognize by the tattoo. Hisako doesn't know if the omamori she possesses is something evil, something related to this cult. Mei reassures her, saying, no way, Hisako. Tsubasa left you this. It's protecting you. You have to believe in Tsubasa. Hisako then asks, am I cursed too? Nico replies, if we focus, we know the cult uses symbols and that they use sacrifices to do something. Mei says, do you think their followers know about these sacrifices? Nico replies, doubtful. This legal document suggests something different. Mei responds, I guess. Nico continues, with cult followers are brainwashed into belief without thinking they are taught not to question. They don't need to sign NDAs. Hisako adds, although some are only members because of their families like Natsu, Nico acknowledges, and we know how she feels. Some, unlike May, who is spirited and confident, wouldn't get caught up in this. But people who are empty and need something to believe in, that's who cults prey on. Hisako recalls, I remember seeing a number like this one on her. I thought it was just a tattoo. We weren't close at the time, so I didn't think to ask. But based on that, the number 127, I think we can be confident this picture is real. Natsu, Chugishima, this universe's Cyclops, and Mori, this universe's Molly Hayes of the Runaways, are walking quickly. Natsu and Mori are headed to meet the others when Natsu ends up getting accosted by a bunch of high school mean girls. These girls have apparently known Natsu for a long time and say some very cruel things, implying that she's some sort of murderer and that her parents joined the cult because of her to try to fix her. Natsu isn't really forthcoming with answers. In fact, she clams up completely and probably would have just walked away if one of the mean girls hadn't decided to throw a can at her head. In doing so, she activates Natsu's power. Natsu is wearing an eye patch, but when her life is threatened, she ends up shooting a laser from one of her eyes, cutting the can in half. It's not like Cyclops' optic blast. Instead, it seems more like a laser. Interesting enough, the eye from which she shoots is actually a different color than the other one. The mean girl exclaims, "Stay away from her. She's a freak, a messed up cult member, and a murderer." This viral corpse story ends up having a major ripple effects among the families and vulnerable children of the Atom. Some of the kids start asking their parents very difficult questions about why they're in a cult and why the cult takes their blood and why they're being experimented on. This is shown when a young member of the Children of the Atom questions his mom about the viral post. With her eyes closed, the mom dismisses it, saying, "That's just ignorant, outsider talk. Listen to what the Maester says. He guides us. Social media is poisoning you." But the kid pleads, "Mom, something's going on. Open your eyes." Literally. The mom grabs his hand and suddenly starts to catch fire. The intensity of his powers has begun to backfire, burning her, and they're both caught off guard. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Other kids in the cult start coming forward to tell their story, signature that the Children of the Atom won't be able to keep their secret activities hidden much longer. Meanwhile, Yukio waits in a random park in Karasaki, continuing her investigation of the school with the suicide. Yukio is camping out in her car, hoping to catch a glimpse of the armored girl. She's eager to be the first one to talk to her, knowing it would boost views on her videos. Suddenly, she spots the red armor across the field and whispers, "No way." On this very night, Hisako, using her armor powers, blowing off steam. Feeling confused and angry, she shouts, "Protect? Protect what? A freaking cult? No damn way." Ironically, in this moment, she looks like the monster she feels inside, embodying the anger she's struggling with. Hisako stops her furious outburst when she notices Yukio, who looks terrified. Yukio stammers, "Sorry to bother you. I didn't expect to actually see you here. Well, I was hoping." She hesitates, then adds, "I'm a streamer." She asks if Hisako has heard of her channel before. Yukio, visibly nervous, continues, "You're Armor Girl, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm totally on your side. I just want to ask you about your friend Tsubasa. If now is not a good time, maybe we could trade numbers." Before she can finish, Armor snatches Yukio's phone and crushes it in her hand. Viper confronts the Maester, saying, "Find that body and contain the damage from this social media post. The public knows too much. Stop the uprising of this powerful Children of the Atom. You are the Maester. Make them believe your word. If you can't do that, you're of no use to us." Meanwhile, Viper wonders about the whereabouts of the police officer and his delinquent little sister. In October, Amano was spotted on the roof of Amatsuki Academy with Noriko Ashida, also known as Surge, a fellow member of the Children of the Atom. Ashida showed him recent social media image of leaked remains of a deceased member along with an NDA issued by the organization to the leaker. In response, Amano slits his wrist and vanished. "Well, that's one way to disappear," Surge remarked. Amano was a resident of Karasaki City in Hinokuni region, a young mutant capable of transforming his physical form to a smoke-like state. He was a member of the Children of the Atom, a mutant cult, and a student at Karigaya Minami Middle School. Alongside his friends Saguchu, Kida, and Murata, Amano had bullied Tsubasa, a fellow student, driving him to suicide. This was a devastating devastating loss for Tsubasa's childhood friend Hisako Ichiki. In April, Shinobi Kageyami, a Children of the Atom member obsessed with Hisako, murdered Amano's friend in retaliation for their bullying of Tsubasa. This tragedy drove Amano into deep depression. One rainy day in June, Amano confronted Hisako outside her new school, Iradari High School, seeking answers to the suicide linked to Tsubasa's death. Influenced by his own sorrow or under Kageyama's telepathic command, Amano ended up fighting Hisako, eventually slitting his throat and disappearing. He was possessed by the Shadow King. Amano's mutant ability, smoke-like dematerialization, allows him to dematerialize into a smoke-like cloud through a self-inflicted wound, making it easy for him to vanish from sight. This event occurred in Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 4. The story's out there quickly taking on a life of its own, meaning that Maester and the cult are struggling to rein everyone in. Now facing a full-blown internal rebellion from some of the older kids, the Maester is backed into a corner with no options left. The Maester addresses the group saying, "My children of the atom, Homo Superior, you have been warriors all your lives, fighting prejudice, fighting hate, standing proud against the envy of those whom evolution has left behind. Those days are over. It's time to unleash your power, to step out from the shadows and claim our rightful place." One of the children of the atom is live streaming the Maester's speech as he speaks. We see Yukio hard at work trying to uncover the mystery. She says that suitcase was connected to them somehow. It was found in Arakawa, but Armor Girl is from Kirigaya. All leads point to the same place, Kirisaki City. Meanwhile, Surge listens to the Maester speak as he says, "Step out from the shadows and claim our rightful place." Natsui looks disturbed by the events of the day, her head down in worry. One of the children of the atom asks, "Does that mean the world is coming to an end?" The Maester replies, "Yes." Next, Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 9. After all, what's the point of power if you don't use it? Quote, Surge, Maystorm versus Sword in a static skirmish. Lightning collides as Maystorm and Surge finally confront each other. But when Surge is left weak and drained of her power, Maystorm has even more questions. Maystorm must investigate the mysterious cult Surge is part of and its relationship to the mutants of the Ultimate Universe. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 9. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, whom he stationed to rule over different regions of the world. Overseeing the eastern territory of Hainon Kuni, Land of the Sun, is Sunfire, and his right-hand Viper. Unrest in Hai no Kuni has exploded ever since images of a human body in a suitcase went viral on social media. The body bore an unusual mark that connected it to the cult of superpower mutants called Children of the Atom, led by the zealous Maester, who secretly works for Viper. Hot on the cult's trail is a group of high schoolers: Hisako Ichiki, Armor, Mei Igarashi, Maystorm, and Nico Monroe. Hisako got her own troubles with social media after images of her mutant abilities went viral. Never mind the cult member Shinobi Kageyami, Shadow King, who has been stalking her. Pictures of the dead body in the suitcase are going viral, sparking widespread disgust among the people of the Land of the Sun. The images reveal an X mark on the body, a symbol many individuals within the cult bear. To the general public, this X mark has become synonymous with the cult, amplifying their fear and mistrust. The news reports say, breaking, more revelations about the alleged cult known as the Children of the Atom. Members reportedly do not consider themselves human, but identify as mutants. Some are rumored to possess incredible powers and should be treated as extremely dangerous. If you suspect anyone of being affiliated with the Children of the Atom, please inform authorities immediately. Public perception paints the cult members as strange, terrifying, and inhuman, escalating tension between the mutants and the outside world. Surge is feeling the effect of the growing hatred toward the Children of the Atom. Meanwhile, May watches the events unfold on the news, saying he's making sound like every mutant is part of the cult, like monsters. May's grandmother gently reassures her, saying, "We love you and you're welcome here as long as you want, but you should think about going home. Your mom and dad are probably worried about you." May, however, remembers the events of X-Men Volume 2, Issue 3, where a month ago, after moving into the neighborhood, May came across a frightened cat that had run away from her neighbor's house. Approached by its owner hiding behind the door, she returned the mascot only to have the cat suddenly become aggressive and scratch her arm. Later that night, May was awakened by the sound of her parents arguing downstairs and joined them to try to stop it, only to have her father hit her after making a negative comment about him. As she screamed, May's mutant abilities would manifest for the first time in a powerful storm, and her hair and eyes would also turn white. Her father would order her to leave, not wanting punks in his house. Returning to the present, May says to her grandmother, "I doubt they even notice I'm gone, Granny. They don't care about me." At Iridoro High School, May, Nico, Hisako can't believe what they saw on TV this morning. Ever since the news about the children of Adam broke, they haven't seen Natsu or Mori, and they're starting to worry. Hisako says if Natsu is gone, it's no surprise Mori is too. "I don't think I've ever seen them apart," Nico adds. "I don't know how involved they are with the children of Adam, but it seems likely that whatever trouble there is, they're caught up in." May asks, "Does anyone know where they live?" Nico, "Maybe we can go see them." Nico Monroe replies, "I'm afraid I don't know. I never thought to ask." Meanwhile, some mean girls at high school are setting up the Bunkai Sai Festival. May thinks it's lame, feeling overwhelmed with her own problems, but Hisako says, "I thought you'd be into the festival." Bunkai is a cultural festival that generally takes place in September or October, though some schools hold it in November. Students set up booths throughout the school, such as shops, cafes, restaurants, photo booths, and more, as well as stage performances and exhibitions of student art and photography. This event helps students learn cooperation and creativity by having to work together to come up with their own plans and themes. Just then, one of the mean girls takes her juice and deliberately squirts it all over Hisako. May says, "What's your problem?" The big mean girl smirks and replies, "Oh dear, I assumed her mighty powers would protect her. That's what you all are, right? Mutant freaks." As May steps forward to protect Hisako, she says, "You want to start something?" The mean girl fires back, "You muties think you're too good to help decorate for Bunkasai, or maybe your weird cult won't let you." Nika retorts, "We don't have anything to do with the children of the Atom." The mean girl sneers, "Sure you don't, and I know why. You don't sell photos of yourself at Bunkasai. After all, we heard all about you. You're famous." Talking about Hisako Ichiki and her armor powers. May looks at the others and says, "Aren't you guys gonna say something?" Hisako glares and says, "Call us freaks. Talk about stupid cults. I'll show you." Hisako, without using her powers, storms over to the Bunkasai pictures and festival items, knocking them to the ground in a fit of frustration. May watches in disbelief, thinking Hisako has really snapped this time. The mean girls are furious, shouting in protest as they see their hard work destroyed. Hisako, undeterred, tears down the pictures and breaks several decorations. The principal intervenes, saying, "I know you've been under a lot of stress due to recent events, Hisako, but that's no excuse for acting out like this." As a result, Hisako is ordered to write a formal apology to the class. The three friends blow off some steam, laughing about the situation. As usual, May takes the lead in comforting the group. "Next time, we'll take them on together," she says confidently. Hisako smiles, forming a stronger bond with May. "Thanks, May," she replies, but her expression turns serious. "I'm worried, though. Sometimes I feel like I might lose control. I could hurt someone for real." "Come on, you never do that," May reassures her. "You're a hero." May then shifts the topic, saying, "Oh yeah, you know that stalker Kageyami, the Shadow King? He's been awfully quiet lately. I bet after you went ballistic on him, he's too scared to show his face." Unbeknownst to them, Kageyami has been kept sedated in the Children of Adam's laboratory for a long time. However, at this very moment, he wakens up and stands, his eyes glinting with malice. Maestro is leaving a message for Viper, frustrated that she's not answering her phone. "Who sent these packages?" he mutters. "I don't know what's going on, but it isn't good. The whole social media situation is spiraling out of control. It's only a matter of time until the real media shows up. These masks better just be some stupid prank. At least the police are in our pocket if there's any real trouble. Damn it, Viper, pick up the phone." Meanwhile, at the Children of Adam branch church, a group of kids gather, their voices filled with curiosity and uncertainty. One asks, "Has Maestro revealed the next path? How shall we prepare for when the time comes?" One of the co-leaders steps forward, speaking in a calm, assuring tone. Now, fellow children, it shall be known soon. Another kid, more impassioned, stands up and declares, what if this is a test from the maestro, a way for us to get closer to God, to become true Homo superior? Kageyami rises from his bed and hears a haunting voice emanating. It is a mutant called Akihiro, who is restrained nearby. Akihiro keeps repeating, did I save them? Did I save them? Did I save them? His voice is strained and tubes extend grotesquely from his mouth. Turning his attention to Kageyami, Akihiro speaks. You're Kageyami, right? I hear you're something special, the chosen one of the children of the atom. Kageyami, unmoved, stares back at him. I'm a hero. Akihari continues, his voice trembling. The first Homo superior. I've given my blood, my power, my everything to the children of Adam. The church says we have to manifest our powers to control them. They tell us we are the enlightenment, closer to God. We succeeded, right? His hand trembles as he displays the symbol of the children of the atom etched onto his body. Akihiro's voice grows desperate. I'm close to God, so why do I feel this way? He suddenly shouts, answer me, chosen one. I have nothing more to give. Where is my divinity? When will I be free? You can do it. You're the chosen one. Free me. Kill me, please. Kageyama guards him coldly and replies, you actually believe the world is coming to an end. You're a fool. Summary of Akihiro for Ultimate X-Men. Akihiro claimed to be the first mutant. Little else is known about him, but he would become involved with the Children of the Atom, a religious institution that also functioned as a cult and conducted experiments on young mutants at behest of the Harada Yashida Alliance, the government of Hai no Kunin. He was crucified and his blood was utilized by the Children of Atom in their experiments to awake dormant X genes in true mutants and create artificial ones. Due to his mutant ability to possess a healing factor, he was able to survive despite his conditions. In August, Akihiro's blood was transferred to Shinobi Kageyami, who had sustained a mental injury as a result of the excessive use of his mutant abilities. Children of the Atom. In November, Akihiro was placed in a hospital bed next to Kageyami, who had recently recovered. Akihiro introduced himself and asked pledgingly to be released from his restraints by death. Parallels to Wolverine Earth 1610. Whether or not Akihiro has any connections to the North American Union's Weapon X is currently unknown. Akihiro's story mirrors Wolverine's Weapon X origin in Earth 1610, dubbed Mutant Zero. Wolverine was the first recorded mutant whose genes was exploited to create the mutant race. Both characters endure torture, experimentation, and exploitation by powerful organizations attempting to harass their ability. We return to May, who still feels something for at least her mom as she looks at her old house. What her grandma had told her affected her deeply, even about her mom who had wronged her by choosing the abusive and cheating father. May saw her mother while grabbing the milk, but when her mom looked up thinking she saw May, she was no longer there. The mother questions, did you come by today? At least say hello. May, waiting on a street corner, wonders why her mother wasn't even worried about her. As she sees her dad walking down the street, she questions, what's he doing out this late? Where's he going? And what the hell? As she sees her dad with a young girl. This young girl is Serge. May comes running after the two of them as Serge's head is resting on her dad's shoulder. They are both shocked to see May, and she asks, Dad, what are you doing? Serge says, busted. The dad responds, what are you doing out this late? Your grandma gave you a curfew. I see you disrespect her as well. May is fuming and mad. May's dad pushes the blame onto May, but he is the only one clearly doing something inappropriate with such a young girl. Serge says, is he your daddy? He's nothing to me. Just some scumbag. In Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 5, Serge had met with an older man and spent some time with him until he noticed the scar on her thigh and tried to touch it, prompting her to electrocute him and steal the money he had on him. It is not clearly known what she does with these older men, but the last one tried to touch her inappropriately in a hotel room and she electrocuted him and took his money. Would she have done the same to May's dad? May goes running after her dad and says, hey, you're not getting off that easy. Serge grabs her and gives her a shock. Serge says, you just cost me a night's work. You at least owe me some fun, don't you think? May, confused, asks, how do you know my name? Serge replies, I know so much more than your name. Why don't you show me that wind power power of yours. It was so beautiful. May, still questioning, says, is that why you targeted my dad to get to me? Surge responds, oh, that was just a coincidence. Fathers are the easiest mark. I just hang out with them and they shell out cash. Or maybe it was fate. Maybe we could team up and make some money. You know how it works. Just talk and maybe go out for some food. It's not like you're sleeping with them. After all, what's the point of power if you don't use it? It becomes clearer that Surge baits older men into thinking they can get closer only to knock them out with a shot and take their money. She talks to them, but it's all part of her plan. Enjo Kosai is a Japanese practice similar to a sugar dating, often undertaken by high school students. Some students engage in more physical side of the practice, while others are strictly against it. As May's storm powers crackle, Surge uses her electricity. May has figured out that Surge is also a mutant and asks to be called Surge. Surge is Noriko Ashida, whose artificial mutation allows her to generate and control electricity. Her energy output is powerful enough to incapacitate adult men, and she has demonstrated control over her abilities, allowing her to easily subdue others and feed off external electricity. May, like her idol, Wind Rider, has the power of weather manipulation. She can create and manipulate storms, including wind manipulation, electricity generation, and rain control. As Surge and May Storm crackle with their powers, Surge takes a swing and May sees the number 121. May questions, is that the children of the atom? Surge replies, those lunatics think they're going to save the world. Who cares? The world can go to hell. But they know what they're doing. They jab and poke people until they got the formula right. That's me. I use them for what I wanted, to become special. Isn't that what all parents want for their kids? To be special. This story becomes clear as May says, you mean you're experimenting on them? They made you. It's what those dead bodies were for? Surge replies, who cares about the failures? May responds, how can you say that? Do you really think you're any better? Surge answers, I'm here and that makes me the winner. May retorts, people died to give you those powers. You should use them to help, not prey on people's fathers. Surge, shouting in frustration, says, you're serious? You're going to lecture me? You don't know anything about me. As electricity crackles around her, Surge's rings begin to break off due to an overload. These rings are worn on her fingers to prevent her electricity generation from overloading. These are analogs to power gauntlets used by her Earth 616 counterpart. Surge screams out in pain as she experiences an electrical overload, but May Storm, wanting to be the hero, says, I hope this works, as she tries to stop the electrical overload affecting Surge. May Storm has the ability of electricity generation. She can generate electrical energy from her body directly through her hands to stop the overload. May electrocutes Surge, dropping her to the floor. May Storm had trouble controlling her powers as Surge revealed in pain. May Storm says, hey, you're okay. I think I overdid it. I can't control my powers. I'll call an ambulance. Surge responds, no, call my mom. If they know, they'll come after me too. Meaning if the children of Adam know what kind of power she has, they will come after her as well. As Surge grips her phone in pain, surges of electricity come out of her. Next, Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 10. Maester taught us to live in peace, but prepare for war. He said the time would come when the righteous would need to rise up against the unworthy to save the earth. Now that time has come. Quote, child of the atom, enter Viper. Viper enters the stage after a mass raid on the cult known as the Children of the Atom. What has the Maker's Council been doing with the cult's mutants? And what of the mysterious figure they have been keeping prisoner? Hisako and her friends face a new world order as the raid leaves mutants unleashed. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 10. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, whom he stationed to rule over different regions of the world. Overseeing the eastern territory of Haino Kuni, Land of the Sun, is Sunfire, and his right-hand Viper. Unrest in Haino Kuni has exploded ever since images of a human body in a suitcase went viral on social media. The body bore an unusual mark that connected it to the cult of superpower mutants called Children of the Atom, led by the zealous Maester, who secretly works for Viper. Hot on the cult's trail is a group of high schoolers: Hisako Ichiki, Armor, Mei Ikarashi, Maystorm, and Nico Monroe, whose friends Natsu and Mori are unwilling cult members. Hisako's got her own troubles with social media after images of her mutant abilities went viral, linking her to a rash of mysterious suicides that claimed the lives of the bullies who tormented her childhood friend Tsubasa. At Hai no Kuni, a crowd has gathered outside the house of two children, Mio and Ritsu, who are part of the Children of the Atom. The protesters hold signs that read, "Mutants get out, mutants are among us, and monsters get out of town." Inside the house, Mio and Ritsu are scared. Mio and Ritsu, most likely mutants, belong to the Children of the Atom. Their mother, Akane, and their unnamed father, referred to as Papa, try to reassure them as the hostility outside grows. As their father attempts to protect them, Akane peeks through the window to assess the situation. She then drags Mio to the window and firmly says, "We're not spending our lives living in fear." The crowd looks at Mio as their mother screams, "Do it, Mio! Show them what you can do!" Her younger brother Ritsu is overwhelmed and unable to comprehend what's happening. In his fear, his mutant powers activate. Terrified and crying, he releases powerful sonic blasts, forcing everyone to cover their ears. As the situation escalates, Ritsu's distress intensifies and strange sonic energy begins to emulate from the young boy. There's a stark contrast in colors between the crowd, the Children of the Atom, and their supporters. The protesters appear in a dull grayish tone. The Maester says, "My Children of the Atom, for far too long we have suffered hiding our true faces, while our persecutors continue their march toward Armageddon. I, your Maester, know this to be true. Where we stand together, that is our strength, that is our power. This is only the beginning, my children. Our time has come. As revealed in the Testament of X, we will show the world that we are superior." As the Children of the Atom listen to the Maester, some begin to question if they are truly going to war. Fear grips them, but this is what they have been training for: war. Outside, reporters gather announcing that the so-called Children of Atom have been hiding out. As the children emerge cloaked, the reporters bombarded them with questions demanding to know the truth behind the rumors. "Are you mutant terrorists? Do you have any statements?" they ask. The reporters then press further, insisting that the children remove their robes to reveal what they are hiding. Many among the Children of the Atom plead with them to stop. The reporter questions grow more intense as they press the Children of the Atom for answers. One reporter demands, "What do you know about the suitcase found near the Arakawa River? There was a dead child inside." Another reporter follows up, "We've heard rumors of human experimentation. Is this what has been done to you?" Without warning, the Children of the Atom drop a gas bomb, obscuring the area. As the smoke spreads, they throw up their cloaks and launch an attack on the reporters. At Hisako's house, a typical Japanese home, there is a knock on the door. The visitors ask for Hisako Ichiki. As Hisako's mother prepares to leave for work, three people insist on speaking with Hisako. They want to question her about the three boys from the Karagaki Miami Middle School basketball team. As the mother tries to push, it becomes clear these visitors are the parents of the three deceased teenagers. One of them pleads desperately, "My son would never take his own life. Hisako, you must know something. Please, tell me, please." Hisako's mother shows empathy and says, "I'm sorry about your kid, but this has nothing to do with us. Please leave." One of the parents, Mrs. Murata, accuses her. "You're one of the Children of the Atom. You killed my son." The situation escalates, and Hisako's mother tells Hisako to call the police. Suddenly, three dark figures appear. It is the three boys who are presumed to have committed suicide. One of them, named Sho, steps forward and says, "Mom, you have no clue. You think we were your perfect little babies. Do you want to know what we did to Tsubasa?" Tsubasa was the first boy who supposedly committed suicide, but he had been bullied by these three. Suddenly, Hisako finds Tsubasa's Omamori in her hand, and Omamori, she believes, protects her, giving her armor. The parents, now frozen in shock, recognize the dark figures standing before them. It's their son's voices. The gray shadow says, "We'll show you," as he grabs his mother while she begs him to stop. The other two parents run away, but the gray shadow tightens his grip slowly, cutting off air and choking her. The remaining two shadows watch in silence. Hisako turns around and sees Tsubasa, who has appeared as a vision. She questions if it's really him. Suddenly, the mother begs Hisako to stop. Hisako's armor is wrapped around the woman's neck. Was it mind control? Was it an illusion? Was it Tsubasa? Was it the suicide ghost of Murata? Was it Shadow King, Shinobi Kakiyami? Could it be the Maester? Somehow, the mother breaks the trance, but Hisako has no idea what she was doing. Hisako's mother questions, "What was that? What was the red aura? Did you do that?" Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Mrs. Murata runs away as a dark cloud fills the sky, casting everything in gray. We go to the park where Shadow King Shinobi Kageyama is sitting with Surge Noriko Ashida. Shinobi says, "You cut your hair." Noriko replies, "You lost weight." Surge continues, "Lots of stuff going on. You see Kageyami? Those dummies actually believed the Maester." Shinobi responds, "I guess so. What about you, Ishida?" Surge smirks. "So you want to join the party?" Shadow King hesitates, then says, maybe it's time," while holding a gray shadow-like object. Meanwhile, the Maester has had Shinobi sedated and given mutant blood for the last few months. At Natsu's Tsugisima's house, Natsu's mother says, "Natsu dear, did you hear the Maester's revelation?" Natsu responds, "I don't care, leave me alone." The mother continues, "Oh Natsu, don't be like that. After all your troubles, we finally found a place that accepts you. The Maester even says you are superior. We don't want to let him down." Natsu scoffs, "Superior? Yeah, right." The mother warns, "Natsu, don't make me come in there." She tries to open the door, but it's locked. Meanwhile, this universe's version of Cyclops lays on her bed looking at the door. Suddenly, out of nowhere, an optic blast shoots through the door. It's unclear if it hit anything, but Natsu's mother yells, "I'm your mother. Don't you dare use your optic blast on me. After all I've done for you, you're still a failure." This infuriates Natsu, causing more blasts of fire. Overcome with emotion, Natsu gets up and shouts, "Mom," before opening the door. This time, Natsu screams even louder, "Mom," only to realize what she has done. Her optic blast had gone straight through one of her mother's eyes, killing her instantly. Overwhelmed with stress, Natsu pleads, "Mom, get up." She screams for her mother, but more optic blasts keep firing uncontrollably. Shaking her head, she mutters, "Make me stop. Tell me I'm a failure, like you always do, Mom." Her mother's body now has multiple holes from the blast. Natsu cannot control her powers. She has clearly killed her mother. The Maester speaks to Viper, the right hand of Sunfire, the leader of the ruling body of what we call Japan. Maester says, "I swear this isn't my doing. I didn't say a thing." The person on the phone responds, "You're telling me your conditioned mind control army decided to act on their own for no reason?" Maestro insists, "I swear I don't know what's happening." Viper replies coldly, "You are the Maestro. Your entire role in this is to control the children of the atom. If you are not capable of what you have no value, our deal will be dissolved." Maestro hesitates before saying, "Understood, Viper." Viper gives a final warning, "Consider this your final chance. Deliver what you promised." Frustrated, Maestro throws the phone away and begins drinking a bottle of X109. Things have calmed down between the reporters and the children of the atom, and a discussion is beginning to take place. A reporter asks, in the light of the recent attacks by mutants, "Why should we not be afraid of you? Do you believe your abilities set you above humanity?" The mutants respond defensively, "That wasn't even us. Besides, that was self-defense. Your flat scans attacked first." Another mutant adds, "We have a right to defend ourselves." Another reporter presses further, "Can you comment on the rumors of human experimentation? Are your mutations natural or induced? Were you born this way?" The children of the atom offer mixed responses. One says, "Look, some mutants are born different. For others, it happens later." Another explains, "And it's science, not experimentation. Why not make some people better? It's no different from wearing glasses or having a pacemaker. It all depends on how you look at it." Another mutant speaks with conviction, "Maester taught us to live in peace, but prepare for war. He said that the time would come when the righteous would need to rise up against the unworthy to save the earth. That time has come." Online, many humans react with outrage, berating the words of the children of the atom. More people come forward, claiming, "We were violently attacked, unprovoked by the children of the atom. Where are the police?" All the mutants need to be put in jail. At a house belonging to the children of the atom, a reporter announces, "This just in. We have a statement from the Maester, leader of the children of the atom." The Maester steps forward and addresses the public. "Bless you for taking the time to talk to us. As you can see, the children of atom are a peaceful congregation. We have nothing to do with those committing evil in our name. We condemn the actions of those rogue operators. Non-violence is at the core of our gospel. No child of the atom would raise a hand against another being." He continues, "As for the suitcase, human experimentation, and other foul rumors spread by those jealous of the harmony we share, I ask, why spread such discord? I feel the prophecy is coming true. We must all stand together against those who encourage darkness. The end is nigh." In the background, Viper watches the broadcast and smirks. "A convincing performance," she mutters. "Let's hope this bought you some time." In reality, the situation is more complex. While the children of the atom were defending themselves, they were also provoked. Many of them struggled to control their powers, leading to accidents, not out of malice, but because they simply lack control. Additionally, some mutants are being manipulated, forced into actions beyond beyond their own will. At Nico Monroe's apartment, Hisako walks in as Nico asks, "Have you heard from May? How's everything going?" Hisako sighs. "I don't know. She hasn't replied to my texts. It seems suspicious that May hasn't been around lately and isn't responding to messages." As Hisako looks around, she notices the numerous ornaments decorating Nico's apartment. "Cool place," she comments, admiring the decor. Hisako also realizes that May have skipped school today, which only adds to the growing list of strange occurrences. Meanwhile, Mori is also at Nico's apartment. She has also been close friends with Natsu ever since they met through the Children of the Atom. Mori is Earth's 616 counterpart of Molly Hayes of the Runaways. She is similar to Molly Hernandez of Earth 199,999, differing in ethnicity from her mainline counterpart. Mori says something really bad is going on. Look at this text from Natsu. The message reads, "I heard someone again. My mom. I can't see you anymore. I don't want to hurt anyone else." Mori, just a friend who wants to help, feels uneasy. Hisako furrows her brow. What does she mean again? Nico sighs. "I just heard the story from Mori. Apparently Natsu did something to a classmate, and the classmate died soon. A tragic accident, but Natsu blames herself." Mori adds, "I stood outside her house for an hour, but she never came out." Hisako shakes her head. "Everyone's acting so weird." Nico turns to her. "What about you, Hisako? Everything okay? You sounded scared on the phone." Hisako hesitates. "I think I heard some people with my powers. My mom is upset and probably worried, but I can't go back right now. Too much has happened." Hisako questions, "So what do you propose?" Nico clenches her fists. "We're accomplishing nothing, just sitting around. My home, everything is so crazy. It all started with some stalker, and now it's all spiraling out of control. I just can't believe what's happening." Nico continues, "Tut tut. No matter how it began, we're all involved now. It's past time to take matters into your own hands." She then declares, "I'm going to find Natsu." Meanwhile, at the abandoned office of the Children of the Atom, a mysterious figure swings a bat, knocking over papers and frantically searching for something. The mysterious figure finally finds what she's looking for, a box of masks. She picks one up and puts it on her face. Who is this person? What does she want? Why did she ransack the abandoned office of the Children of the Atom? To be continued in Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 11. "I'm not here to fight the Children of the Atom. I want to save them," quote Maystorm. Who are the X-Men? Rise of the Masked Mutants. Maystorm takes the reins, no more hiding their powers, even if it means hiding their faces. Disenfranchised and despairing after the raid on the Children of the Atom, the man-made mutants seek out leadership, and Maystorm is ready to rise to the occasion. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 11. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, who he stationed to rule over different regions of the world. Unrest has exploded across the eastern territory of Haino Kuni, land of the sun, after images of a human body in a suitcase went viral. The incident brought the news media to a cult of superpowered mutants called Children of the Atom, many of whom were forced to undergo human experiments. But unwanted attention drove the group underground, including Natsu, who disappeared after accidentally killing her mother with her optic blast. The media frenzy also created problems for mutants who aren't involved in the cult at all. Hisako Ichiki, Armor, fled her home after neighbors showed up asking questions. Never mind that Hisako's been stalked by the cult member Shinobi Kageyami, Shadow King, for months. Nico, Monroe, and Mori head to Natsu house, concerned about her sudden disappearance. They haven't spoken to her and have been unable to reach her, making them increasingly worried. Upon arriving at her apartment, Nico uses her psychic abilities to create a key and pick the lock. Mori, surprised, exclaims, "Wait, no way." Nico, "Did your magic wand just turn into a key?" The two enter the apartment cautiously. Nico knocks on the door and calls out, "Knock, knock, excuse me." Mori hesitates and says, "Are we seriously just breaking in? We should at least wait for Hisako." Nico replies, "Hisako is at Haruto Mall with May." Nico Monroe is the Earth 616 counterpart of Nico Monroe, Earth 616, a Japanese-American member of the Runaways. Mori is the Earth 616 counterpart of Molly Hayes from the Runaways. She is similar to Molly Hernandez, Earth 1999999, but differs in ethnicity from the mainland counterpart. Natsu is the Earth 616 equivalent of Cyclops. Her name name translates to summer, and her design features an eye patch covering her red eye, along with a tracksuit that evokes Scott Summers' style during X-Men Volume 2. As a member of the Children of the Atom led by the Maester, Natsu mirrors young Scott Summers' childhood at the State Home for Foundlings, which was run by Mr. Sinister. Nico and Mori enter the house. Mori has a bad feeling about this and doesn't want to go through with it, but she also wants to help her friend Natsu. Meanwhile, Nico is determined to find a lead. Now, where is Natsu's room? Nico asks. Mori looks around and says, look at these holes. They must have been from Natsu. The girls notice burned holes in the doorways caused by Natsu's optic blast. In a fit of rage, she lost control of her abilities, accidentally unleashing her optic blast through the door, ultimately killing her own mother. This is likely one of the reasons Natsu disappeared, especially with heightened anti-mutant sentiment spreading across the internet and Japanese society. Mori shaken mutters, this is really bad. They walk into the room but find nothing. The entire space is completely torn apart, slashes everywhere, broken furniture and paper scattered across the floor. Something definitely happened here. Nico glances down and notices a symbol on the ground. It's the emblem of the Children of the Atom, but has been carefully cut and shaped to resemble an axe. We then go to a temple in the mountains behind Kerigama Minami Middle School. Hisako used to visit the shrine during New Year's as is a part of a Japanese culture to pray for the future good luck and blessings from the gods. This is why she has come here now, seeking guidance, especially after all the chaos that has unfolded in Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 10. After leaving her home, Hisako has been staying with Nico. Recently, after visiting the shrine, we are taken back to an earlier moment before the events of Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 10, when she was speaking with May. Hisako looks at May with concern and says, hey May, something's wrong. You don't seem like yourself. May responds, I'm worried about Granny. She hasn't been feeling well lately, and I kind of think it's my fault. I might be stressing her out just by being there. I can't stay much longer. Hisako suggests, why don't you crash at Nico's with me? It'll be fine. I'll ask for you. May hesitates and replies, I don't want to get in the way. There's something else. May says, I've been talking to some kids from the Children of the Atom. Hisako responds, are you crazy, May? That sounds dangerous. They'll try to recruit you into their cult. May shakes her head. It's not like that. We're just hanging out. Hisako sighs. I guess I don't have to worry about you getting brainwashed, maybe, but you know that shadow thing is involved with the cult somehow, and it's been pretty calm lately. I don't think it's a good idea to stir things up. It's bad enough that Nico and Mori are set on finding Natsu themselves. I'm worried about her too, but we should leave things like missing people cases to the police. I don't think getting involved is a good idea. May looks at her and says, but we are involved, Hisako. Like Nico said, we're mutants too. I don't think running away is the answer. After all, it's better to regret something you have done than something you haven't. We return to the present day at the temple. Hisako thinks to herself, May is so strong, so confident. Why am I like this? But then she feels someone watching her. Is it the shadow? No, it's Kanon San-Ochi. Kanon is Earth 616 variant of Kawan, also known as Psylocke. Her background differs significantly from that of the mainline counterpart. Psylocke steps forward and says, there you are. Kanon says, Armor Girl, you got a minute? Hisako responds, what do you want? Who are you? Kanon smirks and says, me? I stepped out of legends. I'm a descendant of the samurai Sei. Hisako narrows her eyes. From that old folk tale about Kirisaki Mountain? Are you serious? Psylocke knobs. That's the one. For generation, my family has been friends with the Oni. So how about you? Are you a mutant or an Oni? The Oni are creatures from Japanese mythology and folklore, roughly equivalent to the orgs and trolls from the European folklore traditions. They are typically portrayed as hulking figures with one or more horns growing out of their head. Hisako eyes widens in recognition. Hey, I remember you now. You're that jerk who bumped into me in the locker room. Psylocke smirks. The name's Kanon. Hisako says, I don't know what your deal is, but I don't have time for your games. Kanon places her kendo stick on Hisako's shoulder and smirks. Not so fast. I bumped into you because I sensed something special about you. Let's see what you got, Armor Girl. Hisako's protective armor flares up. She clenches her fist in anger. Stop calling me that. Kanon grins. There she is. That's who I wanted to meet. Kanon gets into her fighting stance, channeling her psychic energy to coat her kendo blade, making it appear as it's covered in nails. Kanon smirks. Your power is mostly defense, isn't it? Me, I prefer offense. She then lunges forward, striking Hisako's armor repeatedly with her psychic-infused kendo strike. After launching her psychic nails, Kanon slashes through Hisako's armor, seemingly damaging it and causing it to deactivate. Kanon smirks. Is that it? I thought you'd bring more. Hisako glares. Why should I? reply. I don't even know who you are. I don't fight without a reason. Kanan chuckles. You wouldn't fight even if someone did give you a reason, from what I've seen. 4 months ago, Kanan was secretly listening in on a conversation between Hisako and Mei. Hisako sighed. I wonder if Nico got any answers from Natsu. Mei shrugged. No clue. Kind of spaced on that. Hisako hesitated before continuing. At the basketball court, when we fought the shadow, I was unleashed. I didn't want anyone to see me like that. Mei smiled. You were cool. Hisako shook her head. What's the point of this power? It's no help at all. All it does is get in the way. Mei hesitated. I guess. Unbeknownst to them, Kanon had been listening to their entire conversation. Hisako says, don't pretend you know me. I'm not some character in whatever story you're making. Kanon smirks. You know that hashtag meat case? I'm the one who found it. As Kanon charges towards armor with her sonic nail-covered candlestick, Hisako activates her full armor and lands a punch straight to Kanan's face. Hisako glares. So what? Kanan wipes her mouth and grins. Aren't you scared you could be the next in the suitcase? Whatever happens, life is just a game, and I'll keep playing until the end. Part of Hisako's journey is realizing that she sees her power as a hindrance. The Shadow King, Kageyami, walks through a crowd as people gossip. Has there been any news about hashtag meat case? Someone asks. Surge responds. Zero. Have you seen this cat Meme? Kageyami replies. So cute. Everyone in the crowd is focused on the black cat that pulled off a major heist, an event currently unfolding in the latest issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, helping to unite the Ultimate Universe into one cohesive world. Kageyami finally arrives home where his mother greets him. Oh, you shouldn't be out. You really shouldn't be going out. You're still healing. The Shadow King enters his room, slams the door, and steps into his closet. As he begins using his powers, the silence fades. The Shadow King is back in an old abandoned warehouse. A masked figure with an X on it speaks. Thanks for coming to learn the truth. Adults think they can use us for whatever they want. We have to save the lost children of the atom. We're in this together. Around the many masked followers listen intently. Another masked individual wearing a mask with sun-like face says, the hashtag MeatCase News, and all the comments disappeared. It's like it never happened. Others in the group murmur, someone is hiding something. One of them turns to the figure with the X mask and says, you have friends in the children of the atom. You have information. You can prove it. Yes, you're our leader. The masked figure, adorned with an African-inspired headpiece and dreadlocks, is surrounded by other members who urge her to take on the role of the leader. She shakes her head and says, don't call me that. I'm no leader. One of the masked individuals says, then what should we call you? As they manage to get the TV working, the screen flickers to life, showing footage from Africa. The group watches intensely as images of Killmonger and the Sorcerer Supreme Enon appear. But what truly captures their attention is Storm, Aurora Monroe, fighting back against the power of the Cabal. The broadcast, which seems to be coming from a source outside the control of the Makers Council, features a news anchor reporting the rebel fighter known as Storm is proving to be a crucial ally in the continent's war against. The sound is cut off. Suddenly, the signal cuts out. The masked figure with the X tilts her head deep in thought before finally speaking. Storm. Looking at the group, she says, call me May Storm. We know that the person with the insignia on her head is Mei Igarashi. We have always known that she admired Storm Aurora Monroe from reports. We also know that she wore an X and that she has been missing, having been in contact with the children of the atom. Mei Igarashi is May Storm. She may not call herself a leader, but everyone looks to her as the head of these unidentified X-Men, the secret society of X-Men. The leader, May Storm, Mei Igarashi. As the TV set turns back on, a dark presence begins to move forward. Multiple eyes and symbols appear, the same one seen with the Shadow King. These eerie symbols also manifest on TV screens and streamers as the image becomes distorted. A demented-looking shadow monster peers out from the screen. The Shadow King is back. The masked mutant asks, what is that? Maystorm responds, that is something that's been a pain in my ass for months, harassing me and my friends. She continues, he's one of the children of the atom. One of the masked mutants asks, is he an enemy? Maystorm replies, I thought he was, but he's just a victim like us. The Shadow King sneers, what nonsense are you speaking? The Shadow King says, I've been hearing whispers about you. You're a mutant and you're foolish enough to think you can set things right. There's no going back. I've also heard you talking to Hisako. Tell me, where is she, neighbor? Maystorm says, what are you talking about? The Shadow King replies, surprise. I'll admit it, it took me a while to figure out who you are. You've changed so much since the last time I saw you. May Storm asks, what's going on? Who are they? Suddenly a group of people bearing the children of the Atom insignia appears at the warehouse. As the masked mutants turn toward the children of the Atom, they ask, May Storm, is that their symbol? Are they mutants like us? What do we do? Do we fight them? May Storm replies, I'm not here to fight the children of the Atom. I want to save them. Just then, the sound of a moped approaching catches their attention. Someone with pink hair arrives at the window, observing the situation. Meanwhile, the Shadow King sneers, I loathe hypocrites like you. At the window, the newcomer is revealed. Yukio, a streamer for the 8 Chom channel, known online as Chimame. Yukio stares at the chaos unfolding and exclaims, what the hell is going on? Next in Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 12, Showdown with the Shadow King. May Storm leads her team of masked mutants in a climactic battle against Shadow King, but the confrontation leads to a huge rift between the best friends, May Storm and Armor. We are the same, understood by none, feared by all, yet protected by someone, by our power. Welcome to our new world. Our new age begins now. Quote, Shadow King. Showdown with the Shadow King. May Storm leads her team of masked mutants in a climactic battle against Shadow King, but the confrontation leads to a huge rift between best friends May Storm and Armor. Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 12. A diabolical genius known as the Maker used time travel to create his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero, except for those on his secret Maker's Council, whom he stationed to rule over different regions of the world. Unrest exploded across Hai no Kuni, land of the sun, after social media revealed a cult called the Children of the Atom forced its members, superpower mutants, to undergo cruel experimentation. The ensuing media frenzy drove the cult underground, leaving the members lost until May Igarashi Maystorm gathered them in masks right before they were attacked by Shinobi Kagigama Shadow King. But the Shadow King was only interested in Maystorm's connection to Hisako Ichiki, Armor, whose current focus is working with Nico Monroe and Mori to find their missing friend Natsu Tsukishima, an unwilling member of the cult who disappeared after accidentally killing her mother. Yukio, the content creator whose coverage of the mutants and the Children of the Atom is slowly but surely going viral all over the world, is streaming a battle between the Secret Society X-Men and the Children of the Atom. The battle takes place where Storm, the pseudo-leader of the Secret Society X-Men, takes on the Shadow King and the Children of the Atom. Yukio's coverage also features mutants battling against anti-mutant protesters. Things are escalating so intensely that people are beginning to ask some very important yet uncomfortable questions. Why are the mutants and protesters allowed to fight? Where are the authorities in all this? Does the government have a stake in the Children of the Atom? And of course, the truth that the Emperor Sunfire is part of the Maker's secret cabal, the group that manipulates the world behind the scenes. This will undoubtedly put Yukio on the radar and in trouble with Viper. As Maystorm takes her first steps towards becoming a superhero, she is walking when she is confronted by the Shadow King. He says, Maystorm, is that you? Do you think yourself a protector capable of defending the Children of the Atom? Your kindness makes you weak. You're no match for Hisako. She's not simple like you. She belongs by my side. Don't stand in my way. Maystorm says, why do you care so much about Hisako? The Shadow King responds, she is my soulmate. He continues, and what is she to you? What are you to her? Nothing. So why do you care? As the battle begins, the Shadow King's dark tendrils lash out, trying to ensnare Maystorm. She uses her powers to even the fight, unleashing a powerful gust that blows away many of the Children of the Atom. Then, focusing her attention on the Shadow King, she summons a windstorm and defiantly answers, because she is my friend. After the battle, Maystorm says, there's that house, the weird boy and the cat, the one that scratched me. It was after that scratch that her powers first manifested. Shinobi Kageyami had once told Maystorm that she was his neighbor. As she knocks on the door, a woman answers. The mother asks, can I help you? You must be a friend of Shinobi's. Maystorm responds, yeah, that's me. Is Shinobi home? The mother smiles apologetically. I'm so sorry. He just stepped out. He should be back soon. It's so cold out. Why don't you come wait inside? Maystorm goes to Shinobi's room, opens the door, and finds a shrine dedicated to him. She remembers how he used to jump between all the shadows. The majority of the pictures in the room are of her friend Hisako. From behind, the mother speaks. I knew you were no friend of Shinobi. You're with that Hisako girl, aren't you? Since she showed up, my shinobi has changed. All this obsession is because of her. Just when he was finally becoming a good boy, Maystorm turns to her and says, "You're crazy." At Iridori High School, Nico Monroe and Mori are trying to conduct a magical ritual to track down their lost friend Natsu, who is undoubtedly in terrible danger. Nico says, "I brought this book from Natsu's room. Perhaps it has something to show us." As the magical ball begins to glow, Mori exclaims, "Hey, I see Natsu's iPad." Nico Monroe says, "That's good. It's telling me she's alive." Suddenly, the symbol of the children of the atom appears. Mori questions, "Is that where Natsu is?" Nico hesitates and says, "Something's not right." At that moment, the Shadow King emerges, shreds the book. The Shadow King says, "Well, hello there. What excellent timing. I'm looking for someone. I think you know where she is." Mori screams and runs after the Shadow King. Mori yells, "This is all your fault. Where is Natsu?" The Shadow King smirks, grabs her head, and questions, "You?" Nico pulls Mori away from the Shadow King and goes head to head with Kageyami. The Shadow King sends shadowy energy directly into her head, and he drops Nico to the ground. Mori helps Nico to her feet. Suddenly, Nico says Hisako's in danger. "Come on, back to my place. I just hope my spell conceals his power long enough." Hisako is sick and doesn't feel well from everything that's been happening. She is at Nico Monroe's apartment and says, "Maybe I should have gone to school with Nico and Mori." As her mom tries to check in on her, there's a knock at the door. The Shadow King, Shinobi Kageyami, has found her. Kageyami says, "Hisako, I found you at last. You dropped this." She looks at him confused and questions, "What?" Hisako remembers when Kageyami transferred into the middle school and suddenly everything comes back to her. Shinobi says, "You always forget. That's why I decided to toy with you. I didn't count on Tsubasa protecting you. That needed to be dealt with. It took longer than I wanted." Tsubasa had given Hisako Omamori, a kind of Japanese protective charm. Her friends were making fun of the Omamori, calling it strictly old lady fashion and claiming it must have been from her grandma. She dropped it to the floor. Shinobi picked up the Omamori and handed it to Hisako. In present day, Hisako said, "If you hadn't done that day," the Shadow King responded, "did you not think Tsubasa would be hurt denying his gift like that for no reason other than your friends not finding an Omamori fashionable? Or do you simply not care that you hurt him?" The Shadow King continued, "Have you ever seen the look on a person's face the moment they realize they've been betrayed by someone they trusted?" 1 month later, Tsubasa took his own life. The Shadow King says, "Hisako, cease fighting yourself. Your trauma is not who you are. You and I together can remake the world the way it should be." Hisako questions, "What are you talking about?" As the Shadow King grabs Hisako's arms, she is shown an image of Tsubasa dead from hanging holding the Amamore. The Shadow King uses the black shadow energy to slowly encompass Hisako. Hisako asks, "Did Tsubasa really kill himself?" Kageyami responds, "He came to me for advice after you shunned him. You meant so much to him, and you hurt him so deeply. He was tormented and didn't know what to do, so I helped him, just as a tiny mental suggestion. Still, he was the one who did the deed, so yes, I would say he killed himself." With Hisako shunning him, the Shadow King planted inklings of suicide into Tsubasa's mind. The Shadow King says, "Enough of playing the tragic hero. That's not Hisako I want, the one who is fit to stand by my side. Show me your shadow." Shadow energy begins to encompass Hisako. The Shadow King says, "You feel it growing, don't you? The darkness inside. Don't fight it, embrace it." The sky grows dark as black energy flows through Hisako. Everyone looks up to see what is coming. Darkness. Tsubasa is dead due to the influence of a stalker, Shinobi Kageyami, the Shadow King, who believes Hisako is his soulmate. Tsubasa, friend, also had feelings for Hisako, but she shunned him, and he felt it deeply. Now her protector, the armor, takes on a corrupted shadow form, eerie, similar to Kageyami's premonitions. Kageyami says, "There she is at last, my Hisako." Hisako whispers, "Tsubasa, forgive me. It was my fault." The Shadow King declares, "We are the same, understood by none, feared by all, yet protected by our power. Welcome to our new world. Our new age begins now." Her new armor, now darker and more sinister, stands as an evil force, protecting Hisako. Next, Ultimate X-Men Volume 2, Issue 13, The Mutant New World Order. The start of the second year of the Ultimate X-Men. Chaos erupts as former children of Adam rise up against the society that used and abused them, just as tensions between Armor and Masor comes to a head in an explosive confrontation.